What's happening? What's happening, man? Oh man. Oh shit. I've been having trouble with Rumble lately, man. Oh, salute to my man, Main TV, man. Main TV and ZDSD, man. Shout out to Main TV, Nation Hall of Famer, man. Know what I'm saying, man? Know what I mean, man? Shout out to Main TV, man. Oh, I guess we not on Rumble today, man. I don't know what's going on, man. Why they doing that, man? What did I do wrong? I don't know what I did wrong. What time did I set it for? 11:30 p.m. You know what happened? Oh well. It's a lot to get into today, man. There's so much going on, man. I didn't know about some of this stuff, man. Some of this stuff I had no idea about, man.
هذه المقاومة محور المقاومة اليوم الجديد فيه منذ سنوات طويلة، وهذا لازم نحفظه جميعا، هو يقاتل بغضب وبعقل، وعليهم أن ينتظروا الأيام والليالي والميدان. بالنسبة إلينا كما كنا نقول سابقا، الآن القرار في يد الميدان، والميدان هو الذي يعرف ظروفه وفرصه، ونحن نبحث عن رد حقيقي وليس عن رد شكلي، وعليهم أن ينتظروا الأيام والليالي والميدان. بالنسبة إلينا كما كنا نقول سابقا، الآن القرار في يد الميدان، والميدان هو الذي يعرف ظروفه، كما بحاول البعض يفلسف الأمور. لا، نحن نبحث عن رد حقيقي وعن فرص حقيقية وعن رد مدروس جدا، وأكتفي بهذا المقدار. نحتفظ لأنفسنا بحق الرد في الزمان والمكان المناسبين؟ لا أبدا. نحن سنرد. هذا محسوم، وعليهم أن ينتظروا، وعليهم أن ينتظروا الأيام والليالي والميدان. هو يقاتل بغضب وبعقل، يقاتل بغضب وبحكمة وبشجاعة وبجرأة، ويملك القدرة.
Yeah, man. I didn't know nothing about that yesterday. This is all news to me, man. I just found about this morning.
What Israel just did in Beirut is like something out of a Black Mirror episode. They blew up the pages. They blew up the devices of Hezbollah members. They exploded whilst using them and whilst in their pockets. They have the technology to specifically target people and use their own devices as weapons against them. 3,000 people have been injured and have had to be rushed to hospital in Beirut, Lebanon, a place that's going through the worst financial crisis of human history, that is low on doctors, that is low on medications, that is low on bloods. This is so disgustingly sinister, even for Israel. That country is so heavily funded that they are able to have some of the most, if not the most, advanced warfare in the world, that they're able to target people by their devices. They're able to use their own devices as weapons against them. That is so dystopian and sick. Israel are using explosive devices in civilian areas. How is that not terrorism? Children were amongst those injured. More children injured or worse, killed at the hands of Israel. Is this self-defense? Is this Israel having the right to defend themselves by blowing up civilians' phones in the street as they're shopping, as they're picking up their kids from school? Is that self-defense? We have all been protesting, we've all been posting, we've all been talking about this. Our governments need to place sanctions. They should have done it a year ago. We should never have supported Israel. They're terrorists. They're terrorists with a lot of money. That's why they can have this precise dystopian targeting. This is so disgusting. There have been reports of them using the capture things, the prove you're not a robot thing, select the sidewalk, select the motorbike. Apparently they've been using that data to target civilians. I am never not shocked by what this terrorist state is capable of. And now they've come for Lebanon. They've been bombing Lebanon for months, but now they're coming for Beirut. Enough is enough. What do we do? What do we do to stop them now? What do we need to do for our governments to actually take note and stop giving money to these evil, rotten people? This isn't even, if we allow this to continue, what next? Black Mirror couldn't make this up.
That is some crazy stuff, though, man. I ain't even gonna lie, man. Blowing up somebody's pager, man.
Again, continued confusion. Senator, we're looking at live pictures from Beirut. There was a large gathering there. You could see that there's, again, continued confusion. Israel's under pressure from all sorts of sides. And one of the things that they are dealing with is Hezbollah from the north, causing them a lot of problems. And this show of dominance, again, not taking responsibility, but the show of dominance is meant to deter a wider war. Do you think they can accomplish that?
Well, I hope so, because Israel can't live with a situation where they've got an armed militia dedicated to the destruction of not just Israel as a nation, but to the Jewish people on its border. Tens of thousands of its citizens have been displaced from northern Israel for months now. So it's been a bad couple of days to be a Hamas operative. And if you don't want your pager or your radio blowing up, I suggest you not join Hezbollah. It's been a bad couple of days to be a Hezbollah operative. It's been a bad 11 months to be a Hamas operative. But again, this is an example of the Biden administration always putting pressure on Israel. What are some of those officials leaking on background today? Well, this may be a technically sophisticated operation, but it has no strategic impact. Really? Like, what do you think Hezbollah operatives believe about their leadership right now, whoever is behind these bombings? How do you think Hezbollah operatives feel right now about using their cell phone or their tablet or their laptop, or turning on their car ignition, or even using the toaster or the coffee maker or the refrigerator? Of course, these explosions are going to wreak havoc inside of Hezbollah.
Senator Tom Cotton, thank you. As we have breaking news this morning, we'll have you back.
Tom Cotton. Goddamn racist. All types of electronic devices owned by Hezbollah operatives are now blowing up in Lebanon in the region. Apart from pagers and walkie-talkies, other devices such as fingerprint devices, solar power systems, and radios are now exploding too. Damn.
באמת, במחירים ברצפה.
מילי,
מה קורה?
תשמעי, טלפונים זה עסק יקר, ובטח כל מכשיר עולה 6,000-7,000 שקל, לא בא לי להשקיע משהו כזה.
וואלה, יש מכשירים כאלה, אבל יש גם מכשירים פגזים באמת במחירים ברצפה. יש את זה, טלפון ממש ממש נמכר, רדמי נוט.
Smash. Smash. Smash, 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 smash.
13 פרו, יש לך פה 8 רם, שעם כל כבוד לי יש 14 פרו וזה.
Smash, 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 smash,
תשמעי,
smash.
טלפונים זה עסק יקר.
Nah, I like that. I like that picture, man. I like that video, man. It was very funny, man. That video was very funny, man. Very informative too. I didn't know all that about pages, man. I didn't know all that about pages, man. I look forward to watching that video over and over again later, to learn as much about pages as I can.
This stunning and far-reaching deadly attack across Lebanon, thousands of pagers belonging to Hezbollah militants simultaneously exploding, many of them exploding in the pockets of those carrying them. The explosions killing at least 9 people and wounding thousands. ABC's chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz reporting from the region tonight.
Tonight, shockwaves and panic across.
Damn. And you keep your pager right near your pagers. I used to keep my pager clipped on my belt like that. I didn't have it in my pocket. Oh, man. Yikes.
Lebanon after a stunning, unprecedented attack, both widespread and personal. Thousands of pagers belonging to Hezbollah militants exploding simultaneously, leaving at least 2,800 wounded, including civilians, and at least
2,800 wounded. Yo, this is next level. Yo, listen. They basically just letting you know, like, don't fuck with us, man. The fact that these people still gonna fuck with them, man, is absolutely insane, man. Black folk, we would have surrendered by now. We'd have been like, oh shit, y'all got it, man.
dead, including a child. The wireless devices blowing up in hands, pockets, and here you see a shopping bag. Another security video shows a man reaching for his pocket before it explodes. The scream of ambulances reverberating through cities one after another.
Hey, man, that's cultural appropriation, man. Ambulances are a European invention, man. I can't believe these Arabs are culturally appropriating that, man. I know it's kind of like a terrible time to bring that up, but still, man, this is cultural appropriation.
These one after another. Graphic images, which we have blurred, emerging from hospitals, showing fingers blown off, faces badly bloodied, and torsos and thighs ripped apart. Iran's ambassador to Lebanon also injured, but not seriously. Back in February, Hezbollah's leader telling his operatives to get rid of mobile phones, calling them a deadly agent. An intelligence source telling ABC that the Israelis have long been working to perfect what they call a supply chain interdiction attack. Former State Department official Steve Ganyard explains how that might work.
The Israelis likely saw an opportunity, bought up thousands of pagers, took them apart, inserted explosives, and then put them back on the market to sell directly to Hezbollah. And then using the radio frequencies that normally bring data into that pager, they simultaneously detonated all of the pagers.
Israel has not claimed responsibility and has not commented, but tonight, Lebanon's Council of...
That's diabolical, man. I ain't even gonna lie to you, man. That's diabolical, man. Salute to Eric S. Have you been to an Oktoberfest? Kicks off this weekend. German brews, corn dogs, pretzels, games, fun for everyone. Less than 5% sons. It's safe. That's a whole lot of sons, man. 5% of how much? So how many people gonna be there? Thousands? That's a lot of sons, man. Yeah, Oktoberfest. I'm gonna see if they got one in my town, man. I might I don't drink beer. I don't drink liquor. So it's like whatever, but just take the kids, have a good time. I might check it out. This is diabolical though, man.
That normally bring data into that pager, they inserted explosives.
State Department official Steve Ganyard explains how that might work.
The Israelis likely saw an opportunity, bought up thousands of pagers, took them apart, inserted explosives, and then put them back on the market to sell directly to Hezbollah. And then using the radio frequencies that normally bring data into that pager.
Did they ever consider that one of these people might have been on a plane? We got to stop right now, man. Let's stop, man. You got to have an moment of clarity, man. Did they ever consider that somebody might have been on a fucking plane? Like a member of Hezbollah might have caught a commercial flight. Did they think about that before they detonated all these damn pages? airplane mode. What if the flight was just taking off? Yo, this is highly dangerous, man. This is highly dangerous, man. Do they think that these people could have been on an elevator? An escalator, yeah, elevator. Yeah, but I mean, what I get it, it's called war, but I mean, these Hezbollah dudes are like regular people. They're like, you know what I'm saying? They're like just out and about in the world. They're not like Hezbollah fighters at their day job. They're just working. What if one of these dudes gets on a plane and he's got his fucking pager there, and you say, okay, it won't detonate because it's in airplane mode? You don't know. You don't fucking know that. You're just saying that. You don't know that. You don't know that that it wouldn't detonate in airplane mode. You don't know that. This is so dangerous, man. Yeah, the Geneva Convention, man. This puts every single person in the world in danger, man. Where are the rest of these pages? How do we know one of these pages, Hezbollah person didn't sell it on the black market? Like, yo, I need some money, man. Got some pages for sale. And then these people, like, they can't guarantee that every one of those fucking pages is on a Hezbollah fighter, man. This is fucking dangerous, Jack. Wow.
Might work.
The Israelis likely saw an opportunity, bought up thousands of pagers, took them apart, inserted explosives, and then put them back on the market to sell directly to Hezbollah. And then using the radio frequencies that normally bring data into that pager, they simultaneously detonated all of the pagers.
Israel has not claimed responsibility and has not commented, but tonight, Lebanon's Council of Ministers calling the attack criminal Israeli aggression on a sovereign country, and Hezbollah warning that a response is coming. The targeted explosions followed warnings from Israeli leaders that they might ramp up the military campaign against Hezbollah after months of tension on the border and a regular exchange of missiles and rockets.
U.S. officials believe there will be a response by Hezbollah, but it may take some time. Hezbollah has not only lost a principal way it communicates, but had operatives killed and hundreds, if not thousands, of wounded operatives put out of commission for weeks, if not months to come. David?
Martha Raddatz on this breaking story from the region tonight. Martha, thank you.
And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. Thanks for being with us here. Let's move into some of these other key international headlines. They follow up to one of these major stories we brought you just yesterday. A live picture there on the Israeli-Lebanese border at this point in time. Well, this is what we know. Walkie-talkies and solar equipment exploded in Beirut and other parts of Lebanon today in an apparent second wave of attacks targeting devices a day after pagers used by Hezbollah blew up, injuring thousands of Hezbollah fighters. At least 14 people were killed and more than 450 were wounded in the second wave here. So this is a story that keeps going. Fox News correspondent Nate Foy has more from the region.
A second wave of explosions in Lebanon, this time coming from handheld radios used by Hezbollah terrorists. Here you see several detonate in Beirut. This blast interrupted a funeral for 3 terrorists killed yesterday. A senior U.S. official tells Fox Israel is behind the explosions that took their lives. Israel embedded explosive devices in pagers delivered to Hezbollah terrorists in recent months. With more communication devices compromised today, Israel's infiltration of Hezbollah's supply chain is clear.
Israel will spend a decade developing sources using human intelligence and signal intelligence to be able to infiltrate the highest ranks of Hezbollah.
Lebanon's health minister says at least 32 people are dead and more than 3,200 others wounded from both rounds of explosions. Hamas extended support for Hezbollah, writing, quote, "We strongly condemn the renewed and ongoing Zionist aggression against the brotherly Lebanese people." Overnight Israeli airstrikes hit several Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. A top Israeli battalion arrived near the Lebanese border. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said Israel is entering a new phase of the war, and the IDF is ready. Hezbollah is again vowing revenge against Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is promising a more secure northern border.
We will return the residents of the north securely to their homes.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Egyptian leaders today, reiterating that the U.S. didn't know about any attack on Hezbollah beforehand.
It's imperative that everyone avoid taking steps that could further escalate or spread the conflict.
The leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, is scheduled to make a speech tomorrow. Until then, all eyes will be on the northern border as Israel awaits the retaliation for both rounds of explosions. In Tel Aviv, Nate Foy, Fox News.
Nate, thanks so much. Let's bring into the conversation our trusty guide here for all of these stories. Of course, that's national security analyst and expert and retired Marine intelligence officer Hal Kemper. He joins me. Hal, good to see you here. In Nate Foy's reporting there, he somewhat left the door open for the inevitable Hezbollah retaliation. Is it so inevitable? Will Hezbollah have to respond to this or not? And do you anticipate they will?
Andrew, I think tomorrow when Nasrallah talks, and Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, will talk. It's pretty much guaranteed. He's got to say something publicly. This is such an embarrassment for Hezbollah across the board. He's got to come out. And there's been a lot of speculation. What will he say? And then the other part is, what can they do? You know, there are severe limitations. Right now, Hezbollah is a little bit hamstrung. Those pagers and the walkie-talkies, certainly the pagers especially, went out to the mid to upper level of Hezbollah. Those were not lower level troops, if you will. These were upper level, you know, like terrorist cell leaders, managers. Those are the folks that had those pagers. They were taken out. I heard one surgeon today in Lebanon say that about over half the patients that came in from these blasts had severe eye and facial injuries, and he said most of them had lost at least one eye. That tells me that whereas we look at the number killed, it really is the number of injured that have taken them, shall we say, out of the fight, and a lot of them is at experience level that you desperately need. So right now, Hezbollah is crippled in the command and control, not to mention the communications capability. Then the walkie-talkies went off. Those have caused tremendous casualties, at least about 14, over 400 people injured. And of course, there are other devices, the solar devices. There's even talk that some cell phones may have actually exploded. With that, they don't trust their equipment. They can't do a lot of things. So he will threaten. He will definitely make some very bellicose charges or bellicose statements about retaliation, and they're going to try and even the scales. Because right now, for him politically, the scales are very uneven, very much in Israel's favor. But the question.
Wow. 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 Ugh. Let me bring the panel up, man. Let me hit the like. Let me bring the panel. Everyone hit the like button, man. Take the $5 challenge. Support the channel, guys. Don't boycott the channel, man. lot going on here, man.
On this Wednesday night, exploding walkie-talkies. A second round of a sophisticated, deadly attack across Lebanon. The fresh wave of fear as Israel declares a new phase of war. And indigenous families' pain and plea for answers.
This could have all been prevented.
The Nova Scotia hospital.
That's a fucking white dude.
This could have all been.
That's a white guy, man. That's a white dude, man. Must have been indigenous, man.
Prevented.
The Nova Scotia hospitals accused of deadly discrimination. A warning about online gambling addiction. Hundreds more. Mourners were among those hit by blasts today as they held funerals for the 12 people, including Hezbollah members and 2 children, killed by exploding pagers yesterday. Hospitals were flooded with almost 3,000 victims, many with severe hand and eye injuries. Images of the aftermath today show destroyed devices said.
They bury you the next day? That's a crazy turnaround, man. They have the funeral the next day? Shit.
Said to include walkie-talkies and fingerprint analysis devices. Israel has not commented, but is known to use sophisticated cyber espionage methods to spy on and track militant groups, and today declared a new phase of the war in the Middle East. As Redmond Shannon reports, the method and scale of these attacks is unprecedented.
A day after what Hezbollah called its biggest security breach, another attack. This time exploding two-way radios or walkie-talkies, including at a funeral for one of the victims of Tuesday's pager explosions. Reports that people on the streets were frantically taking batteries out of devices. Alongside the deaths, hundreds more are injured after almost 3,000 hurt the day before. This electronics store owner says people are scared, as Lebanon's official news agency says some other devices have exploded too. The fallout is global. This Taiwanese businessman says his company did not make the pagers, but a Hungarian firm used his brand on license. Hezbollah has promised revenge and fired rockets at Israel, as it has done for 11 months.
There is a serious risk of a dramatic escalation in Lebanon, and everything must be done to avoid that escalation.
Some reports have claimed Israel moved up the timing of the attacks for fear of being found out.
Hezbollah is not the same Hezbollah of September 16th.
This former Israeli intelligence official thinks the unprecedented attacks may de-escalate the threat of all-out war, at least for now.
By actually significantly crippling Hezbollah's capacities, basically to push Hezbollah to move towards an arrangement, a diplomatic arrangement that will spare the need for military moves.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu renewed his promise to return displaced Israeli citizens to their homes near the Lebanese border, but he did not mention the Lebanon attacks. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
The UN General Assembly has overwhelmingly adopted a resolution calling on Israel to end its unlawful presence in the occupied West Bank and Gaza within a year. 14 countries, including the U.S., voted no. 43 countries abstained, including Canada.
We cannot support a resolution where one party, the State of Israel, is held solely responsible for the conflict.
Canada's ambassador to the UN agrees Israel is illegally occupying Palestinian territories, but Bob Rae told the General Assembly the motion is too one-sided. Israel says there is.
What's up, Og? Can you hear me?
What are your thoughts on this, man?
Okay, I think I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. Go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Fuck, man. Israel, I mean, one-sided? It is one-sided. But I
But
don't
they're
fuck with it.
bombing.
It's not worth it discussing this shit to me.
They're bombing them 24/7. They're bombing Israel. Hezbollah and Hamas are bombing Israel 24/7, 24 hours a day. Missiles.
Don't they have their little Iron Dome thing that protects them?
Yeah, but that's not. That doesn't mean that they're not being bombed just because they have the Iron Dome. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just like speaking strictly from numbers. Like they don't receive as many casualties, so.
Oh yeah, no
numbers
doubt.
are lopsided.
But that's like saying that like if somebody got a good defense, like if we boxing and you throwing punches at me, but I just know how to weave them, I just can weave your punches. That don't mean that it's all good, you know what I'm saying? Just because I'm weaving them, you still throwing punches at me.
I mean, Israel's going to get what Israel's going to get. I just don't have any, hot takes on this. Like, it just doesn't.
Okay.
It's too ancient, so there's nothing new.
Yeah, this has been going on forever. It's going to keep going on. Facts. Let's see. Let's check on my man Diddy, man. What's happening, Diddy, man?
Diddy Combs has been denied bail in connection with the sexual abuse and sex trafficking charges he faces. And as Les Trent reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs spent his first night behind bars inside a facility that is being called Hell on Earth. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is notorious for its appalling living conditions and rampant violence. How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here.
But this is just a holding place until you get to jail. This is not like, his final destination, man.
Reception.
Yeah, it's New York. Yeah, it's New York. So yeah, you're gonna have a lot of violence in the jail because that's their culture. Their culture is, violence in the jail. Their jail culture, kind of like incentivizes violence, man. With the phones, like the way they do the phones in New York jail, like. One dude gotta have the phone. He gotta the toughest dude on this gotta operate all the phones, and you can only use them when he say you can. They got a weird culture up there, man.
Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, spent a harrowing year in federal custody. He says for someone used to a life of luxury like Diddy, prison life is a severe shock.
You have a desk, you have a plastic chair, you have your bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker. So you basically have 3 feet by 5 feet to move around. So you have a basic 15 square feet. It is a horrible, horrible place.
Diddy's lawyers were so eager to keep him out of jail, they offered his palatial $48 million home in Miami Beach and his private jets as bail. Today, they are even offering to restrict female visitors to his homes, except for his mother, daughters, and the mothers of his children if he is released. They told the judge the jail he was being sent to is dreadful, dirty, inhuman, and an ongoing tragedy.
How's your dad doing? How's your dad doing?
Family members appeared somber as they arrived at federal court in Manhattan today in another attempt to get out on bail. The judge cited Diddy's history of violent temper and potential intimidation of witnesses as reasons for keeping him behind bars. Diddy's former protege, singer Aubrey O'Day, is celebrating Diddy's downfall today. I feel validated, a win for women all over the world.
Combs has pled not guilty. Those were the only words he uttered in court yesterday.
Harvey, it's great to have you on tonight. Thank you so much for this. I kept wondering if sweetening the pot in a bail offer with no more money and just an offer not to see girls was going to make a whiff of difference to a federal judge.
You know, I got to say, there was somebody in my office today in our morning meeting who actually made a really interesting point. She said, if you have to tell a judge, I swear I won't be around women, that in itself should be enough to deny bail.
Damn.
Yeah, and I have been thinking as well why the money wasn't boosted. I mean, look, $50 million is it's not chump change. But for a guy who's professed to be a billionaire, why didn't he leverage more? Why didn't he do more? Why didn't he offer more?
IRS.
Actually, I don't think it's a money thing. I think this has to do, and not even so much a flight risk. I think it more has to do with allegations that he has tried to influence and even threaten witnesses. Again, those are allegations by the U.S. attorney. But if the judge buys into that, and it seems like the judge has, then however much money you put up is inconsequential. The real issue is he trying to rig the trial? And the U.S. attorney is saying yes.
And obviously, these are the kinds of charges where that does typically happen. Not that it doesn't happen in other cases and murders, etc. But when you're dealing with sex crimes, it is so pervasive that witnesses can be intimidated and often do drop out of cases and become less willing to cooperate and perhaps testify. Can I ask you about that? Like how, for lack of a better description, how effed is he?
Well, I mean, Ashley, you and I were around during the O.J. Simpson trial. I stopped answering that question because I thought O.J. was plenty effed, and he wasn't. So you never know. And as you know, the prosecution's case is strongest the day it's filed because you don't hear the defense. So I don't know. I mean, one of the things that's very clear is that they're going to argue that a lot of this was consensual. They're going to argue that the freak-offs were consensual, that the drug use was consensual. I think they're going to have a huge problem with the Cassie video. But I think this is going to be a deny defense.
And for a lot of people who maybe, they think they're familiar with hip hop culture because they might see an awards show and maybe some music videos. Maybe people have always sort of assumed that there are these freaky parties that go on. And maybe in their minds, that's what they can be told in a courtroom, that sure, freaky parties are everywhere. And this was no different. But the difference in this case is the witnesses and the number of people who filed civil complaints that all seem to line up with the same kind of narrative.
Yeah, and the civil cases will be put on hold during the criminal trial, I'm sure. But these witnesses can definitely go to court. There is no doubt in my mind that the star witness for the prosecution is Cassie, his ex-girlfriend, who he beat horribly at the Century Plaza Hotel in 2016. But there were going to be a lot of other women as well, and men. And I think the volume is going to be very difficult for him to overcome.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of contradicts the lawyer from yesterday, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's his lawyer, though. His lawyer would know more about the case than Harvey. Forgot his name. Juice Crew Harvey.
Diddy Combs.
This is he's in a world of trouble. The question is, can he get out of it? But he's in a world of trouble.
Sean Diddy Combs remains behind bars tonight after losing an appeal of a ruling denying him bail.
The music mogul now awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges that carry a sentence of up to life, possibly life in prison if he's convicted. Let's bring in CNN anchor and chief legal analyst Laura Coates. Laura, what's your reaction to the judge's decision to reject Sean Diddy Combs' appeal to hold him in jail without bail?
Well, in many ways, given the severity of the charges and what was argued yesterday as well, it was all but predictable that this could be the likely outcome here. Remember, there is a presumption of innocence, of course, for any defendant. But normally people think about a flight risk, thinking about whether someone should remain in jail pending their trial. But there were more factors involved, not the least of which is how prudent it would be and how feasible it would be to prevent the alleged activity from occurring while one is under the supervised release of a probationary period or out on pre-detention release. In this case, they found that it was not going to be viable as a solution to do so. And even though he wanted to post money, even have ankle monitoring, the severity of the allegations and possible obstruction or witness intimidation played very much into the decision.
And Laura, we also all remember that really awful, horrendous video of Combs viciously beating his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in a hotel lobby in Los Angeles. How much of that footage actually play in the court today?
Well, first, that footage is undeniably disturbing to think about what we witnessed and that this may have been a precursor as a civil matter that would lead to the criminal allegations as charged in this. The idea of intimidation or obstruction or the abuse-related allegations, which in part are contained in this new indictment, would have weighed into the court's decision as to whether he posed a safety risk to the community specifically. Now, he has come out, as you recall, after that video to apologize for his behavior, to say that he was disgusted then and disgusted now with what he saw. But when you're talking about violent crimes, violent allegations, that will weigh in the court's overall decision about keeping the community safe. Now, he will be, as somebody who has some notoriety, he will have some level of protective custody, not in a traditional sense, but
PC Puffy, man. He ain't no longer P. Diddy, he PC Diddy, man.
Why is it not in the traditional sense, though? He's just like PC.
Support the channel. Take the $5 challenge. Support the channel. Take the $5 challenge, man. Support the show tonight, man.
Separation from maybe part of the general population or thinking ahead to what that might look like for him. But he right now is similarly situated with every other defendant who has allegations of this severity and poses.
Who's that white broad right there? Who is that, guys? Who's that broad? I don't know.
With every other defendant who has allegations of this severity and poses a potential risk for intimidation or obstruction. Remember, some of the conduct they allege is as recently as 2023, later in the year. And as of last week, they allege that he made phone calls or there was some communication over 50 trying to access a particular witness that he thought might be a part of this entire endeavor. And so all that combined is likely what weighed heavily on the judge's mind.
It was interesting, Laura, that the prosecutor today read a text message one of Combs' victims sent to him after Cassie Ventura's lawsuit became public. She's the former girlfriend who was kicked and beaten up brutally by Sean Diddy Combs in that hotel lobby. The woman said, and I'm quoting now, "I feel like I'm reading my own sexual trauma," and said she felt manipulated by Combs. What does that tell you about the risk of witness tampering going forward?
That tells me that this particular indictment might be the floor, not the ceiling of what the allegations would contain. Remember, there are the civil lawsuits separate and apart from what a prosecutor will be able to charge. Those are normally ending in damages, often monetary damages. And a criminal prosecution, that can be used to build one's case and to buttress the credibility of other witnesses. This suggests to me.
Rabbit Hole Review says Diddy has always been a weirdo. he won't do well in prison. I wonder how much Biggie knew. I would say Biggie knew a lot, man. Biggie was there with him. Like whenever Biggie did an album, him and Diddy were traveling together. You know, they were together when he was, doing his album, when he was rolling out his albums. Yeah, and Biggie being from the street probably thought Diddy was a weirdo too. He probably thought Diddy was a weirdo. Like, you can't help but to think Diddy's a weirdo. I mean, even before all of this stuff, he was just an odd dude, man. Even before all of this, this is actually some of the most normal stuff he did. Like, having sexual escapades, man, and stuff with, the male escorts, hiring male escorts to sleep with your girl in front of you. That's some different shit.
Dave Chappelle used to make fun of him for being weird.
Yeah, he's a weird guy, man. And I'm sure any dude that's like from the street or something like that probably thought he was fucking weird. I'm sure Biggie thought he was weird. 100%. But then that was 30 years ago, so his level of weirdness is probably escalated, man. He's probably 1,000 times weirder now than he was when Biggie was around.
For real.
The entertainment mogul is currently being held without bond in a Brooklyn jail.
Combs' attorney arguing he should be released on a $50 million bond and allowed to await his trial from his luxury home. ABC's senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katursky has the latest.
This morning, Sean Diddy Combs is behind bars, locked up on racketeering and sex trafficking charges that make the music mogul sound like a monster.
Between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
Black DA, man. All the DAs up in New York are black, man. That's funny. Manhattan, Bronx. I think Brooklyn's might be on Brito, but the state one, Letitia Jackson, whatever her name is, the one that's going after Trump, she's black for the whole state of New York. This guy.
And they're doing a great job.
It's going to be hard for black people to cry racist because you know that's coming. They're trying to take down a black man. You know that's coming. They're not doing that yet, but that's coming. You can set your watch to it. The racism claims are coming with, I would say, after the election. I say right now, after the election, they'll start talking about Diddy getting railroaded because he's black.
Conduct.
Combs, seen here smiling with his children the day before his arrest, is being held without bail. With several of his children watching in court, Combs pleaded not guilty to charges he led a criminal enterprise that subjected young women to violence, use of firearms, threats, coercion, and verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. The 14-page indictment alleging Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male prostitutes called freak-offs.
He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims.
Prosecutors said authorities seized the records along with firearms, drugs, and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant during raids last March on Diddy's homes in Miami and Los Angeles. The indictment describes.
Yeah, that the baby oil thing is just, like, he was never going to run out of baby oil. Think about how many freak-offs you have, and if you need just on deck 1,000 bottles of baby oil. God, no.
Aggressive, open, violent, hedonistic abuse that you say was recurrent and widely known. Why did it take law enforcement so long to intervene. How many women were victimized by Sean Combs, and how many others were involved?
Look, our investigation is ongoing. We are committed to bringing justice to everyone who's been victimized by the defendant. I can't tell you why it took so long. I think the better focus is on the fact that we are here today, and we are committed to making sure that justice is done.
His attorney promising a vigorous defense, saying those freak-offs were nothing more than consenting adults experiencing intimacy.
I'm going to fight like hell to get him released, and he should be released with all that he's done and coming here voluntarily.
Combs has been the focus of a criminal investigation since former girlfriend and singer Cassie Ventura sued him for sexual and physical abuse, Diddy settling a day later without admitting wrongdoing. But the criminal charges include a description of this violent 2016 video obtained by CNN. Combs seen throwing Cassie to the ground and kicking her. He issued this apology shortly after.
I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses.
Susie Siegel was Diddy's assistant from 2008 to 2009 after winning the reality show I Want to Work for Diddy. And she says although she never witnessed abuse, her former boss is finally being held accountable.
He thought that all the money that he has accumulated.
So you never witnessed abuse, but he's being held accountable.
Over all these years could potentially shield him. Justice is actually being served. It took a while, but it is being served.
The judge said she was concerned that this is a crime that happens behind closed doors, so she ordered.
Diddy!
Baby oil demon.
Now to Sean Diddy.
Yeah, man. They covered this on Good Morning America. You know they don't like doing this, man. They woke over there, man. This is a black dude because they gotta go hard on this black dude because this black dude violated women. So they get to. It's funny how they get to do that. Like certain black dudes, if they're conservative, they'll nail them. If they did a crime that, like, for instance, if Diddy, like, think about George Floyd. Think about Rayshard Brooks. He had just come home from doing a 7-year bid for child abuse, right? I forgot the charge. It was a terrible charge. He had abused some children. He had 7 years. So you know they give you 7 years, you did something bad. George Floyd robbed a pregnant woman amongst other people he robbed. Blah blah blah. What's the other one? Jacob Blake. You know, he had just sexually assaulted a woman when he, like, minutes before that encounter that on the video. That's who called the cops on him. It was just, and those guys are like, these people here on like Good Morning America, all those shows, those guys are deified. They're, you know what I'm saying? They're saints. They're, you know.
Yeah, you can't even, brother.
Yeah, you can't criticize them. You can't. You say a bad word about them, and you in trouble on one of these stations and shit. Yet Diddy, it's like they get to talk bad about it, which I'm saying is true, but it's like it's just weird. It's just so hypocritical, man. And I'm not defending you.
Yeah, that shit is super weird. How you can't even talk about none of those guys' past, but you know, Diddy's past is all up for scrutiny. Like everything's getting charged with stuff from his past. So
yeah, and it's sexual and dealing with women and stuff like that, and all your BLM, all of them, all your BLM posters.
I
think he the fall guy for something.
All I know is Diddy got the mind of a sun man, dog. He had all that baby oil. He was oiling up all that melunging butt. That's why he had Cassie.
Melunging butt.
Baby oil demon. That's my new name for that nigga, dog.
Yeah, man. That's yeah, let's see how they cover this.
Now to Sean Diddy Combs. He appeared in a Manhattan federal court, pleaded not guilty to multiple charges. Prosecutors allege that Combs was the head of a years-long criminal enterprise trafficking and abusing women. Dan Abrams is standing by. But first, our senior investigative correspondent.
Main TVs.
Yeah, we got the same ringtone.
Is it the Sunman ringtone?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Aaron Katursky is at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Good morning, Aaron.
And good morning to you, Robin. Sean Combs is waking up in this grim, decrepit federal jail, and he's going back to court today. When he came into court the first time in his black T-shirt and gray sweatpants, he appeared momentarily stunned as he took in his new reality as a criminal defendant.
We made hits that'll rearrange your whole set, and got a Benz that I ain't even drove yet.
This morning, Sean Diddy Combs is behind bars, locked up on racketeering and sex trafficking charges that make the music mogul sound like a monster.
Between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
2, 3.
Combs, seen here smiling with his children the day before his arrest, is being held without bail. With several of his children
got some
watching in
dark
court,
kids,
Combs
man.
pleaded not guilty to charges he led a criminal enterprise that subjected young women
Well,
to violence.
you
He
got
was being held without.
these ones are with that girl Kim Porter. She was black. But this one, I don't know who the fuck this one is.
Yeah, that's Melungeon right there.
Isn't
I
that
think
the
this
one
is,
that?
no, I think this is oldest son. This is
That's
oldest
Albie
son.
Chul.
The two,
Okay, this is,
no, I think that's his oldest son from the girl Misha.
oh
them
yeah,
in
the
the
blonde
crib.
hair, the one with the
Is-
blonde hair. Yeah, she was black too, but she was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
she's like Islander. She looked like she's from the islands or some shit like that. Wow.
Got a Melungeon. No. He spread his seed around he equally, man. He ain't just get rich and say fuck all the dark butts. He said, I'ma still smut the dark butts out, I don't forget about y'all. Take that.
Yeah, but he ain't gonna have one as dark as he is though.
No, come on, man. Come on.
Bail. With several of his children watching in court, Combs pleaded not guilty to charges he led a criminal enterprise that subjected young women to violence, use of firearms, threats, coercion, and verbal,
I feel like we
emotional,
just
physical,
watched
and
this
sexual.
one. Did we just watch this? It seemed like the same fucking shit that was said in the last one.
They do that though.
That's what they do. It's all scripted.
I mean, it just seemed like the same information.
That nigga said, all y'all butts getting baby oil. Baby oil for every butt.
Oh man, that shit crazy, man. That baby oil. I hate to see that baby oil under a petri dish, man. He probably crack open, but then he probably like, yo, crack open a fresh one. He probably ain't like reusing them and shit.
Yeah, he probably he probably
so many.
Yeah, he probably on some Sunman shit. He crack open a bottle of baby oil one time, fucking only use like 1/16 of it, then fucking throw that shit away. Just crack a whole nother bottle of baby oil open for the next one, for the next freak off.
He's stunting. Yeah, he's stunting. They like, yeah, man, toss that shit. She like, but it's still something in here. He like, man, I got money, man. Toss that shit. It ain't nothing.
Man, I used that baby oil in like 3 days, babe. Just throw that shit away, nigga. Baby oil balling.
Probably some fucking foreign exotic shit from like Cambodia.
Hey, yo.
He got that. He said he got exotic baby oil. No, he probably really flexing like that on some Sunman shit. Yeah, babe. I got this. This
mango
baby. This baby oil refined from the caves of Mozambique, babe. You ain't gonna find this shit nowhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah, this the rose petal infused baby oil right here. You know what I'm saying? Which one you want on your ass, baby? Salute the main TV, man. Free Diddy, man. Shout out to Rabbit Hole Reviews. He said Diddy was buying baby oil at Costco. Hold it down for a second, man. Hold it.
All right,
Straight, what do they call bundle packs and shit.
man. Damn, y'all think Diddy buy baby oil in bulk? Get the hundred for $50
Hey,
joint.
why not?
I mean, his people
Why
probably
not?
did it for him. So yeah, they did that.
He got a staff. He got runners. I don't know though,
Yeah.
man. I think this is something. I think there's some bigger shit because it's politicians involved. You look at who ran up in a crib between you got the FBI, you got Homeland Security. Homeland Security went up in his crib. They confiscated everything, not the FBI. And the thing is, they only searched 2 of his homes out of the 3 that he has. They didn't search that one in New York.
Okay.
That's good stuff, Philly, because I think it's pretty obvious he's a part of something bigger, but I didn't know any of those details. That's pretty
Like
telling.
how big
Yeah,
do
I
you
think
think
it's.
it? How big do you think it
I think.
gets?
Listen, I think it's politicians involved with it because old girl, she went to a couple of his parties. Biden went to a couple. He had a lot of engagements with a lot of powerful people. So and they were he was a supporter of them, and they supported him. So look at
Yeah, he's a
everything that
baby
took place like
Epstein.
right before he got the key to the city. He gave all his artists their rights and everything back. He settled that shit with Biggie's mom. I don't know. It's a lot. Like I read over the paperwork earlier today, and it's just I don't know. It's a lot of from what I see, it's a lot of holes in it
So
because
so
it's
do
like
you
you know. Go ahead.
so
Go
do
ahead. I'm
you
sorry.
do you think that he's getting these charges because he he stepped out of line with the wrong person in the
Right.
clique, or
That's the
like what?
question.
Yeah, that's or do
Yeah,
you think like
that's
they
the
finally
question.
cored him up?
He stepped out of
Yeah,
line is typically what happens, but who knows?
Hmm.
Could just be like,
with,
oh, they need
with
a
the recording
distraction,
shit.
so you gotta go, Diddy.
Right, that's because if he's been doing this for this long, it's just odd that it's always odd when people been doing stuff and there's so many people involved with the schemes, and then it and then charges like get brought down on them so much longer, like down the line.
Because I was
Yeah, but
looking
we
at
gonna
that
see.
racketeering. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, it seems like in that piece they did talk about the dangerous jail or the dangerous reception center. Seems like they're kind of priming for, oh, he's dead now. What happened? But we'll, it'll be quick. Like this won't. I don't think this will draw out too long.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So you think
Epstein did, but I don't think this will.
so you so you think he'll definitely be found guilty, or
Yeah, I think on some charge. I don't think that racketeering charge is gonna stick though.
Yeah, I think he'll get
That's
years. I think they'll sentence him to some number of years, kind of like R. Kelly.
Hmm.
and I look at this shit as a money grab too. This is a huge money grab.
Yeah, is he really a billionaire?
I mean, he's listed with all his assets and everything. Yeah, he's definitely up there.
So
I don't
many
know.
people are fucking so happy right now. That's how you know you're a real piece of shit. When you go to prison, everybody's celebrating.
I mean, he could have did this shit the right way, man. Like he ain't need to do all this extra shit. Could have had his freak offs, you know.
That you could say the same about a lot of these elites, so-called elites. I don't like that word, but you're right. It's like, why would
Exactly.
you go that far? Like you could have did it the right way, but they gotta push it.
Yeah.
And it's literally right before an election. Like they popped his ass. Like I don't know. It's iffy, man. Like I said, I think they are actually trying to clean his shit up. So it's certain people that
Here's a
their
theory.
whole yeah, they hold some power that they don't want this shit to get out.
Maybe Kamala was like, "Hey, Diddy, I need you to do this stuff." A bunch of whatever. I don't know what she asked him to do, but he was like, "No, I'm not fucking with you, Kamala." So she said, "Oh, I'm gonna get you then." And here we are.
I don't know. I don't know what's up with these dudes, man. You got all this. You got all this status and money and power, and then you get caught up with this dumbass shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit that's going on in New York too. I was talking to my cousin earlier today, and he was telling me that they might be bringing in the mayor and a couple of other people on his staff with, you know, as far as dealing with the funds for the city because they found out that they were renting out hotels, so-called renting out hotels with nobody in them. Like they were just, misappropriation of funds or some shit they said they trying to bring them up on.
They could have at least put, homeless people or illegal immigrants inside those hotels.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
All those Haitians, they could just throw them in there. You know.
Then you get to be a good person with virtue points, and you get to do your dirt.
Well, you gotta remember who you're dealing with. You're dealing with Sunmen. You know what I mean? And this is some of the shit they do. And you know, I mean they all do it, but some men are just sloppy with handling this type of business. It's too much talking, boasting, bragging. They don't know how to cover themselves.
Who's the most successful Sunman criminal?
Sunman criminal? It's a good question. Because you had a lot of big players back in what's that, the 70s and 80s, Nicky Barnes, Frank Lucas, all of those guys. I mean, they
Yeah.
were in major shit and they
Because
got taken down.
some people try to act like uh the drugs shit started in the 80s, but something been pushing.
That is a fact.
But of all those Sunmen, did any of them reach like a yo, fish stupid. But did any of them reach like billionaire, multi-billionaire status? Like,
No, not billionaire status. Multi-millions, yeah. Possibly a few hundred million, yeah. Like back in those days, and that was a lot of money. I mean, Nicky Barnes, I think he owned Apollo at one point.
was he more successful than Rick Ross?
At the time that he was doing it, yeah. Because Rick Ross came after Nicky Barnes.
Yo, I fish in the bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it last night, but I just don't think some men have the aptitude to scale their operations up to like its fullest potential. I don't. I think we. I think our max potential is like a high middleman, but like the overseer of the entire operation. Like,
Look, NBA players been making $100 million contracts since the mid '90s. Only one of them has ever been a majority owner of a team, and that's Michael fucking Jordan.
Yeah.
And it was an unmitigated disaster with the worst team in all of basketball.
yeah, Jordan sucked as an owner.
So it's like if Jordan, who basically got his money, because remember he didn't make much money playing basketball,
At the very
he made
end.
most of his money with them shoes. So it's like if he can't do it, now LeBron's gonna get into ownership too. If he fails, it's just like, oh God.
I think Brian is going. I think Brian is going to be a better owner for some reason. I don't know. I just have a feeling.
Yeah,
I doubt
he's
it.
better at his business. Yeah, he's
Yeah, he got the right people
made
around
his,
him.
Yeah, that's
made his
why
whole
I don't.
crew rich. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think it's because of him. I think it's because he knows how to. He seems to have a better ability to delegate certain
yeah,
tasks.
no doubt. No,
So
he's made Rich Paul the biggest agent. He made his other boy Maverick Carter one of the biggest in like media behind the scenes in the
Yeah,
media world.
and that's
He,
Jay-Z cousin.
oh, okay, I didn't know that. He's made a lot of his friends rich. Um, so I think LeBron, yeah, I agree with you. I think that's why I said if he can't do it,
yeah, if he can't do it, then
it's not,
that's the nail in the coffin right there.
yeah. But yeah, you're right about being a middleman because m- most sons never get past, like, even though son drug dealer, they always got to connect. Son record executives, like Suge was under Interscope. He never got from under Interscope. Diddy, he's under Clive Davis.
Birdman.
That Universal, yeah, yeah, yeah. Birdman, they can never just get Master P. They can never get their own thing where they always a subsidiary. You know what I mean?
Yep. Like all the sun men we look at as yo, this nigga a boss. Like some of the sun men you were naming, dog, them niggas not the final decision maker, man.
No,
It's
they
a
get a check.
white man
They
at
get a
the end
check.
of the line or a juice crew.
They get a check, and then they get a big check, and then they give everybody a little smaller checks. But
Yeah,
they getting a check.
but they
Yeah,
but they'll sell it to you like, yo, I'm really on some bullshit, and they are,
for
but
niggas.
for
Yeah,
niggas, all right. Like we look
yeah.
at Jay-Z like he this boss ass nigga, but he's still a
He under Live
subsidiary.
Nation. Yeah, Live Nation. He under he's
Right.
subsidiary for Live Nation, and I mean Rock Nation is his thing. So I will give Jay Z that. Like Rock Nation is his thing.
Yeah, like they like this these guys have like their own little thing, but it's under something bigger than that. It's
Yeah,
still under something bigger than that. But if you let some people tell it, it's like, no, Jay-Z this boss nigga, he fucking the biggest boss of them all, but he's not.
not even close. He wouldn't even be on the list if they did the top music executives. They
I
did the
know.
top 100 music. I don't think he's on there. Top 100.
Oh,
Salute to salute to Charles. He says, I am confused about the actual crime other than beating up Cassie. Is it illegal to be a freak? Yeah, man. That's going to end up being what the case is hinging on. The lawyer is going to try to say, look, basically, like, yo, he just a wild boy out here living his life, and he got kind of reckless. Yeah, he did a lot of bad things. But then I think the state is the feds are going to be like, well, while doing this thing, he committed this crime. While doing his being freaky, he committed that crime. While being freaky, he committed this crime. And they're going to try to like tie all the crimes together into a big organization, racketeering, like saying that he did it all to further his, in this case, they say his personal gratification, which is different. It's going to be interesting though, because I mean, he gonna fight it, and he got enough money to fight it. But yeah, it's not a super strong case. I don't feel like they got him. Like, I don't feel like it's like a super solid case.
You don't think they got him nailed to the cross?
No. I think they got him bound and gagged, and they about to put him up on the cross, but he ain't up on there yet.
Yeah, it's not open and shit. If I was Diddy, man, I was just saying this when you weren't here, but if I was Diddy, man, like I still don't understand how these son men get caught up with shit like this with so much money and fame and power. Like, if you want to rub baby oil on niggas' butts, dog, you like how
They
like,
want Big Chuck. They want control. They want power. They want to dominate these women. They want to make them their property.
Yeah. I just the mindset is just like the mindset is just strange to me.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Like
look into the Mann Act too when y'all get a chance. There's something called the Mann Act. Look into that.
Jack Johnson. Yeah.
Yup, exactly.
But the Mann Act is they didn't mention that though. They didn't say that
It's in the paperwork though. It's mentioned in the paperwork.
The Mann Act. The Mann Act.
Say that again.
The Mann Act is mentioned in Diddy's paperwork.
Yeah, to some extent.
Can you show me where that is, man? Show me.
I got it off. I got it off of the New York government website. Let me see if I can grab the link again.
Yeah, because I haven't heard that yet. I mean, it don't mean it hasn't.
What are you talking about? The across state lines and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I thought I heard them.
Ivory towers of the university.
Yeah, this is the man.
Americans faced a rising chorus of voices that also threatened to reshape traditional values. 8.8 million immigrants crowded into American cities in the first decade of the 20th century alone.
Things never change, man. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Well, there's one denominator that changed.
No, these fuckers were criminals too. These are the Italians, the mobsters and shit, the mafia. These motherfuckers were criminals too.
Pepperoni
8.8 million immigrants crowded into American cities in the first decade of the 20th century alone.
There was a lot of tension in the air, but the flashpoint turned on sexuality and particularly prostitution. Mainstream Protestant America thought it was a phenomenon that was caused by those wicked foreigners in those cesspools of cities into which our young girls are now going.
It's true.
In 1907, the crusading McClure's magazine published a story about an association of Russian Jews purportedly supplying Chicago brothels with new personnel.
Russian Jews.
Oh no!
Oh boy, they
criminals. Yeah, Jews were criminals back to Meyer Lansky, one of the biggest gangsters ever, man. Meyer Lansky, a Jew. They say Rothstein, Henry Rothstein. What's his name? What was Rothstein's first name? But yeah, these are a lot of big gangsters back in the day, man. Jews had ghettos. They had the original ghettos. Jews had the original ghettos in America. The word ghetto comes from what is what the Jews call their area, their slums.
These into which our young girls are now going.
In 1907, the crusading McClure's magazine published a story about an association of Russian Jews purportedly supplying Chicago brothels with new personnel. When a city prosecutor claimed that those prostitutes were, in effect, white slaves, a wave of hysteria gripped the country.
There was all sorts of lurid stories. Women were being hit by poison darts on the trolleys. They were being lured away from, imagine, ice cream parlors. It created a tremendous hullabaloo because people believed this.
Although scant evidence supported the existence of white slavery, Congress passed the White Slave Traffic Act on June 25, 1910. This law, also known as the Mann Act, forbade any person from transporting women or girls across state lines for the purpose of prostitution, debauchery.
And then that's what Jack Johnson got caught up in. A lot of people, black people think that the Mann Act was created because of him. No, he just got caught up in that shit. The famous boxer. Y'all familiar with him?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, you always heard some people say, man, they made the Mann Act because they saw Jack Johnson with white women, and they had to put a stop to that. He was rich and black and famous, and he had white women, so they had to create an entire law to put him in jail.
Yeah, he just broke the law. He broke that law. And listen, is it a bad law? I don't know, but whatever. But it's like,
yeah, it needs to be revised.
No.
Forbade any person from transporting women or girls across state lines for the purpose of prostitution, debauchery, or any other immoral purpose.
Basically, human trafficking.
One of the interesting things of the Mann Act is
you got access to the dark web
upon actual sex happening.
Nah, I ain't messing around with no dark web.
I ain't gonna lie.
That's how I got it.
I hopped in the dark web one day. There's some wild shit on that joint, bro.
How do you get on the dark web? Like, what is it? What does that mean? The dark web.
It's a specific browser and certain prompts and shit you gotta
school me to that. You had to school me to that because I didn't even know I had no idea about no dark web. I didn't know nothing.
Then you have the intranet.
Oh wow. Yeah, I don't know nothing about none of that.
It didn't depend upon actual sex happening. It was very almost Orwellian in the way it was construed by the courts. The vital elements of the crime were transportation across a state line.
The Mann Act soon became a tool for more personal vendettas. Fathers turned in the boyfriends of wanton daughters. Wives reported philandering husbands. And some prosecutors exploited the law as a weapon against romances that crossed the color line. Jack Johnson was an easy target for the Mann Act. In 1908, he became the first black man to break through boxing's color barrier and reigned as heavyweight champion of the world.
Perhaps he was the Muhammad Ali of his day. He was very flamboyant. He was pretty much in your face kind of person. A black man.
How could he be like that with all the racism back then, man? When they had lynched him, man.
Well, he's good at sports, so they let him get away with it. I guess that's what they would say, probably.
Yeah, you could defile all the white women you want, as long as you can knock niggas up.
Yeah.
You see the Sunman in the crowd, right?
He was very.
I don't know. I can't tell, man. I can't tell who's in that
In
crowd.
the front row?
His day. He was very flamboyant. He was pretty much in your face kind of person. A black man being champion of the world didn't fit into a lot of people's idea about who that should be.
Johnson further inflamed his critics by openly keeping company with white women and eventually marrying 2 of them.
Hey, 2 of them.
Yeah, man, listen, man.
It was so bad. These white people wanted him out the paint so much that this nigga was marrying multiple white women.
Yeah, man, and it wasn't uncommon then too. Like, if you look at, like, if you pick a name from back in those days, pick some famous black person from back in those days.
From back then, 1910.
Jesse Owens.
I was gonna say W.E. Du Bois, but he probably was marrying white men, not white women.
W.E.B. Du Bois, Jesse Owens. I don't know. I want to see who they was married to, man.
W.E.D. Du Bois, he probably was married to a white man. That nigga was a Melungeon bussy popper.
Let me see.
Hobo Melungeon.
W.E.B. Du Bois. He was a mulatto though, but
yeah, he was a Melungeon. He probably was getting baby waved up by a white man, so I don't think that counts.
Let me see. He married let's see his wife. His wife, yeah, she a fair skin. She doesn't Melungeon too. He married a Melungeon. Let me who's the other one you said?
Jesse Owens.
Jesse Owens. Yeah, but
I think I saw that movie about him, and I think it was a white girl in it.
Oh, okay, so yeah,
I can't remember.
I don't know about some people from back then, to be honest.
Shit, a lot of them was married to white women, man. But a lot of shit, it wasn't nothing to be married to a white woman back in the day. You crazy? Now Jesse Owens, I think he looked like he was married to a sister.
Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey.
Nah,
That's what I was saying. Like, you got to dig into the Reconstruction era, man. You find some amazing things about what was happening back then.
Good call, Philly. Not for real.
Listen, I'm being dead serious.
Years.
My man be so vague with it. He be like, man, look into this, man.
When you say looking at that, you mean like the real history, the real true history of the Melungeon?
Yeah, the real true history. Yeah.
The crazy things they
Of
tried
just
to
what
do
was going on in general
to accommodate the Sun Man.
If we look back, are we going to see that Abraham Lincoln was black?
No, you're going to see that he was considered a Melungeon. He wasn't black. Melungeons have 3 different ethnicities mixed into them. It's usually Native American,
ethnic profiles,
Caucasian, and black.
Were any of the presidents back then African booty scratchers?
Yeah, you had some in the 1800s.
Well, which one?
Hang on.
Wait,
let me pull up my piece, my research.
Yeah, look into it. Let me move along.
A lot of people's idea about who that should be.
Johnson further inflamed his critics by openly keeping company with white women and eventually marrying 2 of them.
Sex and race have always been linked in American culture and American society ever since the days of slavery. Black males were looked at as inherently predatory. You know, white men essentially projected all of their own anxieties onto black men and looked at them as sexual, beasts.
In the fall of 1912, federal authorities arrested and convicted Johnson for transporting one of his lady friends from Pittsburgh to Chicago. few doubted that race was the real motivation.
The federal prosecutor, immediately after the conviction, expressed before the press the hope that this would be an example about the evils of permitting Negroes and whites to marry. It had nothing to do with the crime at all. It was an amazingly candid expression of why he'd been targeted.
Jack Johnson ultimately served 1 year in prison as punishment for his so-called crime. For the next 2 decades, Mann Act convictions continued to rise. But the manner in which men and women lived and loved in America was already changing.
Let me tell you something. They be salute to Rabbit Hole Reviews, man. He says, just like Epstein, Diddy was allowed to operate until he went off script. Everyone at that level has a master. Facts.
Yeah, well put.
Salute. Make sure y'all take the $5 challenge. Support the channel, man. We about to get into some heavy shit right quick, man. I'm about to blow y'all mind right quick, man. Make sure you take the $5 challenge, support the channel. We've had I think 4 people take the $5 challenge. We got like 3. We had more than 300, but we got 300 steady in the chat, man. Should be more people supporting the channel, man. Let me see. Where am I? What am I doing?
This whole time I thought W.E.B. the boy was I thought he was gay.
Gay?
Yeah,
You thinking of Booker T. Washington, man? Because sometimes people get them mixed up. I don't know if he was gay either, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes people. And then listen, W.E. Du Bois, you know what? I did hear that. Yeah, like back then, a lot of dudes was gay, man.
But they still married.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was like the civil rights movement. A lot of them dudes was gay, but they kept it. It was more on the low.
Yeah, gayness. Gay was different than it is now. Now being openly gay, that's what kind of like
give you the extra push.
War. That's what started the culture war over homosexuality. It's always been closet gay dudes. But once people started becoming openly gay, that's when it's you know what I'm saying, like not just wearing, you know what I'm saying, like flamers and shit like that. But yeah, let's go here, man.
The history of slavery is a painful reminder of humanity's capacity for cruelty and oppression. Slavery in America was deeply entrenched from the colonial era through the antebellum period, with enslaved Africans and their descendants subjected to forced labor, physical punishment, and various forms of degradation. The term antebellum derives from Latin, where ante means before and bellum means war. In the context of American history, the antebellum era refers to the period before the American Civil War, specifically the years between the late 18th century, which was after the War of 1812, all the way down to the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861. The term antebellum era is commonly used to describe this period because it captures the distinct social, economic, and political characteristics of the time, which ultimately led to the conflict and division that resulted in the Civil War. It was a time of significant growth and transformation in the United States, marked by industrialization, westward expansion, and debates over slavery. Yes, slavery. The antebellum South was characterized by the use of slavery and the culture it fostered. During the procession of this era, Southern intellectuals and leaders gradually shifted from portraying slavery as an embarrassing and temporary system to a defense of slavery as a positive good. And for this, the abolitionist movement, which had just come into existence then, was harshly criticized by these leaders for being in opposition to slavery. The demand for slave labor and the U.S. ban on importing more slaves from Africa drove up prices for slaves, making it profitable for smaller farms in older settled areas, such as Virginia, to sell their slaves further south and west. Most farmers in the South had small to medium-sized farms with few slaves, but the large plantation owners' wealth, often reflected in the number of slaves they owned, afforded them considerable prestige and political power. During the antebellum era, the nation grappled with issues such as states' rights, the expansion of slavery into new territories, and tensions between the North and the South. These factors contributed to the eventual outbreak of the Civil War, which had a profound and lasting impact on the country. However, while the dehumanization and mistreatment of slaves is well documented, with ample evidence of sexual relations, from rapes to what appears to be relatively symbiotic romantic partnerships between white slave masters and black women in the antebellum South, a lesser-known aspect is the abuse endured by black male slaves at the hands of elite white women, that is, the planter class women. Yes, that too occurred. The planter class white women refers to a specific group of women who belong to the elite plantation.
Let me run that back for you. And there's books written on this. I can show you the books written on this. He got this from this was a big problem back in those days, man. Back during slavery, man. Several books written on this. Very, very extensively talked about in real time. Like in that time, it was talked about a lot. These white women.
Outbreak of the Civil War, which had a profound and lasting impact on the country. However, while the dehumanization and mistreatment of slaves is well documented, with ample evidence of sexual relations, from rapes to what appears to be relatively symbiotic romantic partnerships between white slave masters and black women in the antebellum South, a lesser-known aspect is the abuse endured by black male slaves at the hands of elite white women, that is, the planter class women. Yes, that too occurred. The planter class white women refers to a specific group of women who belong to the elite plantation-owning class in the American South of the United States during the antebellum era. These women were associated with the wealthy plantation owners predominantly focused on cultivating cash crops such as cotton, tobacco, and rice, and relied heavily on slave labor. These wealthy plantation owners were referred to as the planter class, while their wives, who held privileged positions within the social hierarchy of the time, were the planter class white women. However, using an intersectional socio-historical analysis, this very video delves into the often overlooked history of the exploitation and mistreatment.
Now you know what group ended up becoming these people. What political party these people ended up becoming, right?
No.
Democrats.
Yeah,
The Democrats.
Those who become the Democrats, the planter class. And that's a fact. Like they directly became the Democrats.
Exactly.
And the KKK. And the KKK and all that stuff.
Treatment faced by black male slaves, exploring the factors that may have contributed to the incidence of sexual encounters between the planter class white women and slave men, the power dynamics embedded in them, and their implications in terms of sexual consent. The segment further demonstrates how these upper-class white women who engaged in these relationships use sex as an instrument of power, simultaneously perpetuating both white supremacy and patriarchy during this dark era. Before we get right into this proper, kindly hit the like button in front of you, share to keep spreading these eye-opening contents, and subscribe. You just remember that all you have to do is sit back and relax while we unravel before your viewing today the uncommon story of the planter class white women and the remarkable abuse black male slaves encountered at their hands. Now let us begin. Intersection of power and gender slavery was not only a system defined by racial subjugation, but also one that reinforced gender hierarchies. While the planter class white women in the antebellum South were bound by societal expectations of femininity, they still held significant power within the context of slavery. These women played active roles in maintaining and perpetuating the institution. The authority they wielded extended to the management and treatment of enslaved individuals, including black male slaves. White women had the power to issue commands, give instructions, and enforce discipline within their homes and on plantations. It is of great relevance to note that in the American South before the Civil War, white women couldn't vote. They couldn't hold office. When they married, their property technically belonged to their husbands. But there was one thing they could do, just as white men could. They could buy, sell, and own enslaved people. In the book, They Were Her Property, White Women as Slave Owners in the American South, authored by Stephanie Jones Rogers, the historian makes the case that white women were far from being passive bystanders in the business of slavery, as previous historians have argued. Rather, they were active participants, shoring up their own economic power through ownership of the enslaved. In the past, historians had often based their conclusions about white women's role in slavery on the writings of a small subset of white Southern women. But Jones Rogers, who happens to be an associate professor of history,
Taraji B. Henson looking ass. But look.
Oh my God.
Did you know that though? Is Fisherman still up here? Did you know about this Fisherman?
What?
That the white women was letting the chains blow their backs out during slavery.
I mean, like, why are you asking me?
Did you know that? I'm interested.
I mean, of course they're gonna do that. Like, I mean, you mix any group of people together and you're gonna get that.
Yeah, but I mean,
like if you make it, don't matter what group of people you drop where, you're gonna get that.
Well, when I first learned about this, I was taken aback because I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know about this till like maybe last 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Sometime in there. Before that, I was like, man, I didn't think it was any way that was possible, man. I knew that the women was getting it in with the white men, the black slaves, women was getting it in, but I didn't know that the brothers was getting. I was taken aback by that. Floored me, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. I was like, damn, what? Niggas was knocking down the fucking the lady of the house.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Random white women. We talking about like the masses' wife and shit.
You don't think it was cuck shit going on back then? Not that saying that this was that, but
it was cuck shit going on back there. It definitely was.
Did you ever see the movie A Time to Kill?
Yeah, I saw a piece of it. I remember when it came out. Samuel L. Jackson and shit. Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, I read the book. Time to Kill. I read that book.
I'm gonna just be honest, man. Nigga history is sketchy to me, dog. She gonna have to substantiate this with some sources for some white people, dog.
Well, I mean, like as soon as you see who the author of the book is, I completely throw it all out, honestly.
Yeah, black people and history, especially slavery. I don't believe that.
Now
shit.
that black woman ain't the one who wrote the book.
That's my point.
That black woman ain't write that book. This book, White Women, Black Men, Illicit Sex in the 19th Century. That wasn't written by that black. That black woman is like, hold on, I think let me just put.
Women as slave owners in the American South, authored by Stephanie Jones Rogers.
There's another book. This is White Women as Slave Owners. The book about the sex, it was written by Martha Holds. White Women, Black Men, Illicit Sex in the 19th Century. And there's other books written about that stuff. She's writing about this is a different book this woman wrote. But I mean, you can't dispel what she said. I mean, if it's
I mean, I'm just saying, like, if a black chick writes this book that we're looking at, I question everything in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. This is the point I'm trying to make. Like, it's
a
lot of hearsay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of hearsay, just like the whole thing with slavery. I don't believe in that. The term tenant farmers, yeah. Slaves, no.
What's the thesis here? Like, yeah, fine.
The thesis is I fucking hate white women. That is the thesis.
So do you think that white women weren't owning slaves?
I mean, I'm sure there were some, but I bet if you read this book, it's full of bullshit.
Do you think that
white women were owning slaves too?
Right. But do you believe that white women were
Yeah, sure. If their husband died or whatever, they would probably become the owner.
Do you believe that white women were letting brothers blow their backs out?
Yeah,
I'm sure that happened some.
And like in mass, like was it? We gotta
like. Do I think every single fucking white woman during that time? No.
It was
Yeah,
not
I don't
common.
think I
Absolutely
But
wouldn't.
not.
they not do, every white woman ain't sleeping with a brother now, though.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
if you
saying?
would have
These things
asked,
happening.
if you would have asked me, I wouldn't think it's like a widespread thing at all. I don't think so.
Historian makes
According to the books, like a lot of the books written about it, because remember, this wasn't like 1,000 years ago. This was like when some of these books were written about it, it was just 100 years. It had just
Yeah.
like this was not, this is fairly recent in history, man.
It's the case that white women were far from being passive bystanders in the business of slavery, as previous historians have argued. Rather, they were active participants, shoring up their own economic power through ownership of the enslaved.
Look at the headdress.
In the past, historians had often based their conclusions about white women's role in slavery on the writings of a small subset of white Southern women. But Jones Rogers, who happens to be an associate professor of history at the University of California, Berkeley, drew on a different source this time from interviews with formerly enslaved people conducted during the Great Depression as part of the Federal Writers Project, an arm of the Works Progress Administration. These interviews, Jones Rogers writes, show that white girls were trained in slave ownership, discipline, and mastery, sometimes from birth, even being given enslaved people as gifts when they were as young as 9 months old. White slave-holding parents train their daughters on how to be slave owners. They give them lessons in slave discipline and slave management. Some even allow for their daughters to mete out physical punishments, Jones Rogers says. Slave-holding parents and slave-holding family members gave girls enslaved people as gifts, for Christmas sometimes, when they turned 16 or when they turned 21. There are even accounts of slave-holding parents and family members giving white female infants enslaved people as their own. There is one particular instance of a case in a court record where a woman talks about how her grandfather gave her an enslaved person as her own when she was merely 9 months old. And just how could a 9-month-old baby have known that she had a slave of her own if she wasn't told so? Apparently, she has been schooled on the ropes. She grew up knowing that some absolute authority over another has been bestowed on her, that she had some waiting property of her own in the form of a human being. Stated a poet and writer on his findings in the book, They Were Her Property, by Jones Rogers. Such children grow up not even recognizing black slaves as fellow human beings. These exact nurturings have majorly contributed, no doubt, to the creation of highly racist and supremacist personalities in societies at large.
Wasn't that like the norm? He's saying that like
he
didn't see black people as human. Like, bro, this
just
no shit, Sherlock.
Like, where is the 40-minute documentary on the fact that the majority of slave owners were Jews?
Never been made. Not a single one.
Why can't we get? Why is it always this single angle?
Well,
It has nothing to do with. It has nothing to do with accurately depicting history. It's everything to do with instilling white guilt, because that's what Jews seek to do.
Exactly. That's my
all
point.
it is. That's all what all this bullshit is.
That's why I say history has been told backwards.
This particular video is just dripping with that. It's so obvious.
Misty, so you think that's why the Jews don't want black people to know they were the original people here?
What?
I was talking to Misty. Is he saying Jews don't want black people to know that they were like one of the original people here?
The Jew crew doesn't want us to know a lot of things.
Exactly. They don't want half the world to know shit.
And I think
you got to look at their
like
history as a people.
Yeah, that's up their sleeve for sure. That's in their deck of cards.
Yeah, I mean, Aqua's talking about the mob, like the Jew mob back in the early 20th century. Jews have been fucking criminals for thousands of years.
Khazarian Mafia.
That's all they
Go ahead
do.
and Google that and come back.
It's not the Khazarian Mafia. No, it's not. It goes back further than that. These people have been fucking liars forever. No, it's not a good starting point. You have to go back further than that.
Fuck off, faggot.
You have to go further back than that. It's in the fucking Bible who these people are.
Yeah, dude.
Like, It's not
that's a fact. Yeah,
Khazarian mafia from the the year 1000 AD or whatever. These
quite
people are.
relevant.
This is just how these people are. Period. Like the way sons are, have their little quirks, whatever. The Juice Crew has their quirks, and they don't give a fuck about morality. Their morality is only I'm gonna get what I want, no matter how I have to do it. I'm gonna get it. And that's it. Like when you just understand that, and that's how they get to do what they do, because they don't believe in morality the same way they tell us to believe. They don't think lying is wrong. They don't think killing is wrong. That's why they can fucking blow up a Palestinian's, school, orphanage. They don't fucking care. They don't fucking care. Because it's not immoral to them. Like the way they view the world is completely different from the way Western Christian doctrine pushes things. And that's what we can't figure the fuck out. Like why we can never pin this down. Like what the fuck is going on? It's because you're dealing with a group of people whose morality is completely different from you.
You're going all the way to a
Like
bloodline of people.
It's like exhausting to see people just struggle with this shit like over and over and over again.
And you can say the same thing about Islam too.
Yeah, that's been co-opted because this, a lot of the Islam that's practiced today is not even the official Islam.
Oh shit! I just realized Ahmed isn't there.
And people are so fucking gullible where it's like they'll just you just slap the term science or the term history onto something and people are like, oh, that must have been true, that must have been exactly how it was. It doesn't work like that. Like you can use propaganda through any means you feel like. It doesn't mean like this for sure happened exactly. It's unbelievable how stupid people are.
That's why I said, if you go back and you look and you read some of those acts that they put into place, you can see how things were changed over the years. The status of different people, how they switched people around, gave them this title, gave them that title, when they were something completely different. This whole thing about slavery, they weren't slaves, they were tenant farmers.
Some deeply faulty mental structure this is, which must be destructured. A mentality that must be visited and revisited to create a new mindset. The kind that would, at the end of the day, see and regard all as equal. Sexual exploitation.
They don't want us to talk about
One
this.
of the most distressing aspects of the abuse endured by black male slaves at the hands of elite white women was sexual exploitation.
Watch your propaganda. Don't talk about anything that fucking matters.
There were instances where they actively engaged in non-consensual sexual relationships and rape, exploiting their power and control over black male slaves. These actions perpetuated a cycle of sexual violence and degradation, further dehumanizing the already enslaved. Here's one example of such many cases found in the autobiography, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, where the author Harriet Jacobs, who being once a slave.
Thank God.
Yeah, I don't want to listen to this trash. It's so fucking annoying.
I hate to be that guy, but I don't believe these niggas, man. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. Like, I don't believe shit anymore about anything. As soon as I learned about Norman Dodd and the Reese Report and how Jews were going into the school systems and cultivating the curriculums to teach kids, I was like, all right, I'm fucking done. I don't believe shit.
Mm-hmm.
It started playing while I was gone.
Yeah, it was spooky.
Yeah, we started talking about Juice Crew and it just started playing.
I'm telling you, some of these devices got minds of their own.
Oh man. So yeah, let me see. I missed a lot.
Slave talks about how planters' daughters would take advantage of male slaves. They know that the women slaves are subject to their father's authority in all things, and in some cases they exercise the same authority over the men slaves. I have myself seen the master of such a household whose head was bowed down in shame, for it was known in the neighborhood that his daughter had selected one of the meanest slaves on his plantation to be the father of his first grandchild.
Oh, I believe it did. If she selected the meanest slave, that's how women are, man. That's how women are, man. I believe that shit right there.
Sadistic.
Yeah.
It's about child survival. It's like if you're, that's why women select for sociopaths, because a sociopath is willing to do whatever it takes to survive.
Yeah, they're built for the game.
All that mumbo jumbo about like be nice, be yourself, it's all bullshit.
Oh hell no.
Exactly.
Every man knows that intuitively. Every man on the planet knows that being nice doesn't work. It don't work. Yo, you could be, no matter who you are, if you're nice, it ain't gonna work. Like there's no like, well, I'm rich, so I can be nice, or I'm, you know what I'm saying, I'm tough, so I can be nice. Nah, who you are, if you're, and when I say nice, I'm talking about like, I'm not talking about you gotta like fucking beat the girl's ass on the first date, but when you're like,
when you're tolerant,
thoughtful, and tolerant, there you go. Yeah, things like that. Yeah, you're done. You got a chance in hell. Salute to Rabbit Hole Reviews, man. Can we get more than 2 people to take the $5 challenge? We got 4 people took the $5 challenge tonight, man. We talking about the Juice Crew, slavery, history lesson. I you know what, man? I watch these other shows, man. I ain't seeing the history on them jokes, man. I'm seeing a bunch of dudes talking about stuff they think they know, man.
I've tried to get on other shows and they're fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's like you don't hear you hear a lot of Mystic Phillies on there, man. It'd be like 10 Mystic Phillies. We only got 1 Mystic Philly on here, man.
Hey, yo, you tripping.
It'd be like a whole panel full of Mystic Phillies, man. Talking mumbo jumbo, man.
You taking shots?
We
tripping on.
We keep Mystic Philly in check over here, man. He can't get too crazy, man, because we outnumbered, man.
Yo, nigga,
I ain't got nothing in common with them. I ain't got nothing in common with them cats, bro. They on that Black Power shit. I'm not on that shit.
Alone.
Who's gonna tell him?
Hit the like button, y'all, man. Take the $5 job.
She did not make her advances to her equals, nor even to her father's more intelligent servants. She selected the most brutalized, over whom her authority could be exercised with less fear of exposure. The kind of relationship described here by the author is clearly of a sexually predatory behavior. And such an act, as Jacobs confirms, was not uncommon, nor can it be classified as consensual in any meaningful sense of the word. It, in fact, constitutes a form of sexual abuse, if not rape. We thus see that plantation mistresses and elite women, like their male counterparts, were able to sexually control and abuse their slaves. Another way in which the planter-class white women were able to exercise sexual control over slaves was by threatening to accuse them of rape or attempted rape if they did not agree to sex.
Oh, shit. Slavery era, Me Too? Damn.
If they did not agree to sex. So that was how they held it over their head. Like, you got to come knock sparks out this ass. So I'm going to tell them.
Brian, I'm sorry, man.
Pause.
You trying to tell me these Sun men wasn't they were in agony having to knock down these
right, scared, man. If Madison wife got the hots with me, I'm gonna be terrified, man. Be like, man, bitch, you know.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I highly doubt.
Yeah,
I very much think it's safe to assume these dudes were fucking going after white women left and right.
I'm not gonna say it's right to coerce someone against their will to engage in any sexual activity, but I highly like Fish said, cut the crap, man. These
Yeah,
Sunmen
cut
was
this woe is me, I'm shook in my boots. It's fucking bullshit.
You don't think these some men was slaves?
Nope.
yeah. Oh my
Nope.
gosh.
Not even a little
Hold
bit.
on,
Oh my
man.
God. I gotta fuck this white woman. Oh my
No,
no.
I don't.
Nah, time out. Do you all know the minimum number of lashes you could get as a slave was 39 for any offense? That's not fucking master's wife, but like any offense, like
Yeah, I
It's
don't believe
bull.
that.
What a, like there'd
It's
be other
bull. It's
shit they'd be
bull.
afraid of.
That'd be the best
That'd be the
lashing
least of
I
their
ever
worries.
take.
you don't believe what? What don't you believe, man?
They were
I don't
getting
think that's
lashed
true.
because they kept running away. They were running away from their contract. You got to understand, these people were tenant farmers. They were not slaves.
Yo,
They
these
worked and
people.
tilled the land for housing, clothing, and so forth and so on.
So they weren't doing it against their will?
No, they had agreements. Most of these people, this was their land. You
Most
answer
of
this question. How could you take, hang on, how could you take a group of people from a different side of the planet, bring them to another side of the planet, and have them cultivate different crops who had the knowledge of these crops?
Wait,
Yeah,
what?
Don't make
Well,
sense.
Philly,
just
they
do
would
it.
tell
Because
you.
cotton and tobacco did not grow in Africa.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's like this, like Mr. Philly, like let's just say I had a fucking computer chip manufacturer plant, and I needed some slaves to work there. I could teach them how to make the computer chips, man. What you talking about, man?
Do you know how complex that is and how long that would take?
But I could teach some
And
niggas
that's
how
my
to plant.
point. Wait a minute. That's my point exactly.
So you
That's
telling me you
that
can't teach some son men to just plant
Listen,
some seeds?
these were these people's crops. They understood those crops. They worked those crops.
oh
Philly, I
man.
don't think it's that much of a reach to think that there were also slaves that were just property straight
Oh
up.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there could be
definitely.
both.
Yeah, definitely. But
And you're
I'm not saying
certainly
slavery
lying to
didn't
us about
exist.
one of
I'm
them.
not saying it didn't exist. But most of these people were tenant farmers.
So they were
I
just
think you're
like
right. I think most
W.
of them were. I think the property where it was a minority because I
Look
don't
at
think
the
that makes sense
what
to
was
you, like you were
sharecropping.
saying, to bring them across the world to do that. It
So
doesn't
they
make
were
sense.
W2 workers.
No, listen, and they didn't have you didn't have human resources back then. So who are they going to complain to? Who are they going to bitch and complain to? We can do that now. Somebody treating you bad at work. Oh, you're not moving fast enough. You're not doing this. We can complain to somebody. We could sue. There's different things in
Earpiece
place
just fell
that
out.
cover that. Back then, you didn't
I
have
didn't hear
those
what
laws.
you said. My earpiece just fell out. I didn't hear the last part of what you just said.
My fault. I said back then you didn't have a human resources department or human resources. So who could these people complain to?
You complain to you who complained to what do you
Who could the slaves, who could the so-called slaves complain to?
the overseers? You're telling me, so you're telling us that these people were not slaves. You're just declaring that.
Not all, no, not all of
I don't
them.
know about
I'm
history. You're
telling
just
you,
telling
listen,
us that it's actually something else.
read through the Acts. I'm telling you, read through the Acts and you'll come to a conclusion. And the reason I say for y'all to do it
Read
is
through
because
Acts. You
don't
telling
go
me
off my
what?
word. Listen, don't go off my word. See it with your own eyes. It's just like
What acts did
it's
you
just
read?
it's like me saying the same thing that a lot of these people are saying. Well, this happened, that happened, blah 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 blah, and you believe it. No, you need to see it for yourself.
Yeah, but they
Look at
had
all of the
slaves.
acts that took place during the
Slaves
Reconstruction
wrote
era.
books though. But slaves wrote. Listen, bro. Like, not only did salute to just some dude, man, but not only did slaves write books, man, but like this didn't happen a billion years ago. This
Right.
happened there were people in the 30s who were slaves. There were people in the 1950s who had been slaves, born
And it's people that are still slaves today.
No, but what I'm saying is like you're trying to declare that like no, it wasn't that. It's this. Everyone, these were tenant farmers. They weren't slaves. It's like, yo, are you serious, man? Like
a lot of them were. Listen, a lot of them were tenant farmers.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all of them. Some of them were.
Look, the premise is they lied to us about slavery. For example, the transatlantic slave trade. Like, they make a big deal out of that.
Oh, yeah,
like,
exactly.
Fundamentally, it doesn't make economic sense to just pick these people out of a fucking jungle, bring them across the world, and try to teach them like gardening or fucking farming techniques. Like, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, but just because it seems stupid today, like we got plain. Like, think about it, right?
It's a shorter trip. It's a shorter trip from Europe to the United States than from Africa to the United States.
Hold on, but you have to think about. You got to think about things. You're thinking about things kind of linearly. Like you're thinking about things by your day. Like we got the other day when we talked about Blockbuster, right? A kid today would think that was crazy. You mean you just got the movies in a place and you got to go to the place and get the movie and you can only have it for 3 days, then you got to send it back? That don't make no sense, man.
Blockbuster. Well, most of the kids do that now. They do that now. They're like, what the hell is that?
Just because something seems like it isn't efficient now by your standard doesn't mean that it didn't happen, man. I'm from Nigeria, man. I wouldn't say from, but I was born there because I left when I was a baby. But over there, they have monuments to slave traders. Slave traders, people.
Oh, I know. I have a good friend that's Nigerian.
They're families that are generationally rich today, where their empire started with slave trading.
That's fair, but you can't necessarily tie that to America. They traded slaves across the whole world.
But that's who they was trading slaves with, though.
No, they trade slaves with the Spaniards, or so they tell us.
No. Hold on. Yeah, I get that, but what I'm saying is that those ships had manifests.
Well, I'm questioning the scale of
like
American
in Newport. Hold on, in Newport, Rhode Island, with the Jews, Aaron Lopez, the famous Jewish slave trader. Newport, Rhode Island was the hub for that. They insured all those boats. All the cargo, every slave that got on that boat was accounted for. And every slave that had survived the journey when they got back was accounted for. The crew, everything. Those boats weren't just floating over the water like you going on a fishing trip. All those ships was insured. The crew, the boat, the cargo, everything. There was a manifest of how many exact slaves were on there. Like, what is y'all talking about? Y'all acting like this is just some myth.
Yeah, I'm questioning the scale of it and the impact on it that it has on us today, specifically.
Yo, listen.
So, what percentage? Let me ask you this: what percentage of people were African slaves who were born here? What was the percentage?
All the slaves that were born here were African slaves.
What was the percentage?
What are you talking about? I don't know what that means. The percentage of what? What does that mean? The percentage
of what?
Really, he means all the slaves here, all the slaves in America they're taken from.
Makes no sense,
right?
No, it makes no sense.
All the Africans, yeah, but you saying it doesn't make sense. But here's the thing: where else you listen? The Africans were selling slaves. Like for instance, cobalt, right? Like right now, every cobalt is a big thing for cell phones and other things like that, right? They go get that in Africa because that's where the fuck it's at. There's no cobalt anywhere else. So they go to Africa and get the cobalt.
But who's there?
By your logic, it doesn't make any sense.
Who's there? Who's there
No,
though?
that's not a fair
Who's
comparison.
there?
We're
The
talking about a
people
human
are
being
already
versus a
there.
mineral.
Hold on. The cocoa.
The people are already there, right?
Huh?
The people that are working these mines are already there, correct?
But there were slaves in Africa. Have you seen
Listen,
the
all right,
Negro
so
in
you're
the
missing
Negro land?
the point of what I'm saying.
It was slaves. A
So
lot
they
of
go
those
to
people were slaves in Africa before they got sent over here. If you were African chief, everybody in your kingdom's a slave. What are you talking about?
you just said all right,
No.
you said they go to Africa to get the cobalt and all of those things, the gold, the diamonds, the whole nine. But these people are already there. They understand the land. They know where this stuff is.
Them people don't understand the
Right?
land. Them people didn't know none of that shit was there until the white man told them it was there. Them people didn't know none of that cobalt was
They
there.
know how to
I agree with that, Ak.
Who's working the land? Who's taking the risk to work?
Them. Because they have to. They're basically slaves over there.
Ak, you can't compare precious metals to
Yes,
slaves.
you can, because here's the thing. The slaves were there. The slaves were in Africa. The slaves that didn't die from diseases. Soon as the white man fucking showed up and he breathed on a fucking Native American, as we would call them, them motherfuckers just started dropping like flies. Africans weren't like that. We had resistance to white man diseases, and we had resistance to malaria also, and things like that was rampant over here. We were able to survive that, and then we were also already slaves under our whoever was our chief or whatever. So we were brought over here, and we were doing slave work. Yes, not every African who became a slave was a slave over there, but a lot of them were. Like, what are we talking? We gonna you just gonna come on here and redo history, and I'm supposed to just accept it. I'm supposed to just let you.
Nobody's
you're not.
No, nobody's redoing history. I'm telling you, if you read these documents, you'll see the language.
Oh man.
And I'm not going to sit on here and tell you which ones to read. I pointed you in a direction.
my
The thing is, you
God.
need to see it with your own eyes.
Philly, unless
Look,
you
you get
have
upset.
some like hard
So you that
evidence,
lazy,
man,
you don't want to read.
you gotta drop it. We gotta
Bro,
keep it moving.
can you
Stupid.
drop the documents you read? You can't do that simple thing first. Yo,
I
this
read
is
several
crazy.
of them. Like I said, if you look to the Reconstruction period, start reading the documents that took place during those times. It has nothing to do with me saying anything specific, because
What is that?
how are you going to
that have
believe?
to do?
How are you going to believe anything that I'm saying unless you see it for yourself?
Oh my
I'm pointing you in the direction to find it.
Hold on,
Then you can come to your own conclusion.
Hey man, make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all take the $5 challenge. Support the damn channel. Salute to just some dude, man. Yeah, man. Listen, man. There's this guy, right? So you saying that the whole slave trade didn't happen because it don't make sense to you?
I just questioned what we were taught in school.
Hold on. All right, hold on. Fine, whatever you said. This dude, Aaron Lopez, he's a Jew, right? He was a merchant, slave trader, and philanthropist in colonial Rhode Island. Slave trader and philanthropist. Wow. Through his very commercial ventures, he became the wealthiest person in Newport, Rhode Island. In 1961 to 62, Lopez unsuccessfully sued Rhode Island colonial government for citizenship. So Duarte Lopez was born in 1931 in Lisbon, Portugal. He belonged to a family of conversos, Portuguese Jews who had converted to Catholicism, probably only to blend in.
You know why they converted to Catholicism?
Yeah, they don't really do that.
Yeah, they don't really practice it. They just probably it's like with a beard. Although the family continued to practice Judaism in secret. In 1750, Lopez married a woman named Anna, and within 2 years, she gave birth to a daughter, Catherine. Anna died on May 14, 1962, at the age of 36. In the summer of 1763, Lopez took Sarah Rivera, the New York-born daughter of Jacob Rivera, for a wife. And hold on, let me get to the part. Merchant and slave trader. Lopez established himself as a shoe keeper in Newport shortly after his arrival. By 1755, he was buying and selling goods throughout Rhode Island and dealing with agents in Boston and New York. One of Lopez's early business interests was the trade of spermaceti, a coveted wax extract from whale oil used to make elegant candles. Lopez built a candle making factory in Newport in 1756. Hey, Fisherman, I gotta say this, man. These motherfucking dudes, they come through and they do their thing, man. I mean, can you at least give them that?
Yeah, I mean, when have I not given them that? But they always ultimately destroy the populations that
Right.
they operate in.
So now you know these were Spaniards, right? Practicing Judaism.
Listen, man. The Lopez expanded his trade beyond the North American coastline, and by 1757 had major interest in the West Indian trade. He also sent ships to Europe and the Canary Islands. So he's trading in this spermaceti stuff, whale oil and shit like that. But those ships, a ship is a ship. Like, I know one of y'all main things that y'all say, the slave trade denied, say, well, where all the slaves where all the slave boats
Where the
at?
ships at?
Yeah, where the ships
I don't
at?
say
Like,
that.
as if they down at the dock, like, and looking for them and shit. Like, it's supposed to be a ship just sitting in on the corner and shit. But here's the thing, though. A ship is a ship, right? So those ships that brought slaves over also carried other cargo. So it's like, yo, a ship is a ship. You put either you put fucking barrels of rum on there, you put niggas on it. So he had ships going all over the place. So he said he also sent ships to Europe and Canary Islands. Between 1761 and 1774, Lopez was involved in the slave trade. Historian Eli Faber determined Lopez underwrote. Do you know what underwrote means? Do you know what that means?
Insured.
Yes, he insured 21 slave ships during a period in which Newport sent a total of 347 slave ships to Africa. So you got 347 ships going there from this one city, and if you got, let's just say you got 300. Let's do a low number, 300 on each one, right? That's 30,000. That's almost 100,000, right? Just from this one city. 100,000 slaves coming back home. And these are like, yo, you can go in the Library of Congress, in the microfiche and shit, and you can see the manifests. You can see all that shit.
Yeah, I know. I never
what I'm
argued
saying
that.
is that, but you're basically telling us that this didn't happen.
No,
And
I
it's
didn't
like,
say that. I didn't say
you
that.
said that. Oh, you said they were already here.
It was
You did
people already
say.
here. No, there were people already here. They did bring Africans over here, but the amount is not what they say it was.
Well, here's the thing, man. Like, that's vague shit. You're not really like, it's talking in vagaries, man.
I mean, that's a fair enough claim, Mark.
What?
That the number is a lie. That they say 4, 5, 6, whatever million number it is. I think that number is a lie.
Well, they didn't all come
You know
here.
they brought Chinese people from Africa? They brought Indians from Africa?
Yeah, but you just saying that. You're not. If I ask you to prove that, you're gonna tell me. You're not gonna tell me what the book is. But so look, by the beginning of the American Revolution, Lopez owned or controlled 30 vessels. Okay, by the beginning of the American Revolution, Lopez owned or controlled 30 vessels engaged in the European and West Indian trade of whale fishing. So this guy, this is just one Jew. This ain't like the whole Jewish
Crypto
diaspora.
Jew.
This is one Jewish guy, Aaron Lopez, who was, the whales almost went extinct. That's the one thing too. They fished those whales. Did a certain type of whale go extinct? Do you remember?
Definitely.
The whale that they was hunting, like a Moby Dick, that whale, they either fished that whale to the brink of extinction, or they actually made it go extinct.
To be fair though, you can't really know if these things are extinct. I mean, it's the fucking ocean. Come on.
Well, they have groups that go around and try to find them, and if they're not there, they can't find them. Whales got to come to the surface and fucking
you can
blow.
see a decrease.
They got to breathe at the surface. It ain't like you dealing with fucking like shit swimming at the bottom of the sea. Whales got to come to the surface and breathe. So if the people out there, the scientists out there looking for them can't find them, man, then I mean, like, y'all can't debunk some shit happened, dog. With y'all, like, nothing happened.
No, we're not saying that. We're not saying that at all. We're not saying that.
We have been lied to over and over again.
Most of it.
No, nobody's saying
that's
that.
The point.
I'm not saying you haven't been lied to, but just because you've been lied to doesn't mean that thing. Like, for instance, we got computers now, right? In the 80s, man, the computers were kind of whack, blah, blah, blah. They were big and shit like that, and they couldn't do nothing. In 50 years, somebody's going to say, well, nah, that don't make sense, man. You just got a big computer in your house, and all you can do on there is like, what could you do on the computers in the 80s? You couldn't do nothing. The computer that they had in your what they call it, the home model, whatever, or the computers we had in school, you had to type the code. You couldn't just press a button. You had to type the actual code in there for the computer to do something. And floppy disk and all that shit. Like, people would never imagine that you would have this big ass computer in your house, and all you could really do was play games, maybe play little cheesy games on it, but you really couldn't do nothing on it. You could maybe type or something like that. And you tell people, well, you got this big thing sitting in your fucking living room and you can't do nothing with it. Pause. And it's like, that don't make sense. Nah, computers didn't exist back then. Like, it's like, you can't judge things back then on the way you've lived. The way you've lived is like, for instance, most women today can't imagine a time when there were no tampons. Tampons are a relatively new invention. Shout out to Tampon Tim. Tampons are a relatively new invention. Bras are relatively new. Baby formula is a relatively new invention. Daycare is a relatively new invention. So when you hear women out here talking about, oh, I'm a superwoman, yada, yada, well, those women back then, they didn't have all this shit you got. So you can't judge them. You can't judge a woman from 500 years ago who didn't have baby formula, didn't have a bottle to get a baby, didn't have tampons when she was on her cycle. She had to go away and go in a room for like a week and be away from the family and shit. You can't judge them on some broad that's going to work. Her baby's over here at some daycare center getting fucking fed a bottle by some bitch, and she running around on her period fucking playing in the WNBA and some shit. Like, life changes. It's absurd to judge things in the past by your modern interpretation, by your modern reality. And I think that's what a lot of blacks do when they deny a lot of that older stuff that happened. Because I hear a lot of that. Oh, the slave trade, where the boats at then? Where are the boats at?
I was just going to say, don't sons want to be victims? Like, why would they deny slavery?
Well,
I see your point.
Sons, it's different son factions. Like, that's just the faction of sons. Like, if you went on Instagram, sons would be like, what the fuck is this? What? Like, but then it's little pockets of sons that say that shit here and there. Like it's not like a big all the sons, but it's little pockets of sons that say that sovereign. You got sovereign sons that say that they don't have to follow the laws. But have you ever met one in real life? But they out there. So it's like all this shit is just. I just think that you gotta really understand that, like, yo, people was living in them days and they were keeping diaries and memoirs and historical and signing contracts and documents and all this stuff that you saying didn't happen or that you don't really understand. It don't matter, man.
Well, okay, let me explain part of my thought process here. So it doesn't make sense because logistics back then were presumably very difficult. Shipping and moving things, shipping people specifically. I mean, they tell us that the attrition rate was, I don't know, like 25, 50%, that they were just dropping dead.
Yeah,
Like
like
why were they even
25%
doing
of
it
the
then?
slaves would die. And that's why they packed the ships tight. That's why they packed them really tight. So they get as many slaves on there as they could, because they knew a certain portion of them were going to die on the many of the crews died. The crews had a similar death rate on those ships. Even
So
the ones, the pilgrims had any
So
ship
that's
you got on them
part of my
days,
point.
it was going you was gonna have a high
Dangerous.
death rate.
Yes, it's dangerous. So because of that, it makes sense to me that the scale that they present
So
is just impossible.
are you literally saying this on Ock Nation News, that because something is dangerous, people in the past wouldn't have done it?
I mean, you really just simplified the shit out of what I said, but sure.
I'm saying, but that's
Right?
basically what you said.
All right,
No,
listen, let
are
me give
they
you an example.
danger?
Let me give you an
People are
example.
still afraid back then. Like people are still afraid
So
of dying. They don't want to go sail on ships. Fuck that.
so wait, so you agree with Mystic that sons were here like way before the
Yeah, I mean,
pilgrims?
I've definitely dropped some of what I think and what I believe, and it's that there was an entire cities here before the white
Exactly.
But
man,
were
quote
there?
unquote.
But
Nobody
were they?
paid
Made it,
for their
Were they
and they're
sons.
sun
Their
people
memoirs.
though?
sons. Man, we know it
Nobody
was
does.
cities
I
here,
don't think
man.
anybody
They
thinks.
were melanated.
Yeah,
What did
melanated
Christopher
doesn't
come up
mean
and say that
sun
he saw?
people.
Copper colored
Yeah.
Melanated
people.
doesn't equal sun, bro.
Go to a gas station. You gonna see
Listen
an
to what I'm
Indian
saying.
dude in here darker than me. He ain't no fucking sun man.
So an
Exactly.
Indian is a sun. Like, come on, bro. We gotta use brother.
Somebody
No,
dark
listen.
fucking the sun person.
No. You're missing.
Hey,
You're
if I
missing the
could
point.
finish my point.
Yeah, we can't cut him off.
Yeah, we all do that.
Any
It's
day
okay.
now. Any day
Yeah.
now.
So, damn, Mark. So,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
this is frustrating. Okay, so I don't know what the people looked like that lived here, but there were people here.
Are you? I mean, but they were Native Americans. They look.
They were. That is one group. Yes, yes. And if you ask them about what I'm talking about, they could probably tell you some shit.
And they
Hey,
will tell you
do
there
this
was
real
sun
quick.
people here.
I don't know
Do this
what they
real
would
quick.
tell you, but it wouldn't be what
Look
you
up the
expect.
the emblem of America. Then look up the
Oh my
emblem of
God.
Africa.
Philly, chill out, man.
Look up the emblem of America. Look at the emblem of Africa.
Yeah, look at
room,
it. Look,
man.
I'm telling you, look at them. And these are some of the oldest depictions of what they found when they went to these lands.
That's a good point, though. There's emblems, Roman coins, for example. They found Roman coins in the United States.
Where did they find Roman coins in the
Texas.
United
I know
States?
they found them in Texas.
They found Roman
Again,
coins
this is a jumping off point. Like you can go ahead and Google
All right,
that. And
can you put
find
that in
your
the
own
back
sources.
chat? Put that in the back chat. Put it in the back chat where they found Roman coins. Because y'all just be saying shit.
Yeah,
and
this.
like I get, a lot of channels you can just go up there and say shit. But like I like to have like
Look, you see
proof
them
of
in the
what you
chat
said.
talking. Look. Arkansas, California, the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, but who is that talking? Is that a scientist? Is that who's talking? Like, who is that?
This is from research from scientists who have posted this stuff, who have done documentaries, films, the whole nine on this information.
Look, you can Google it, and Wikipedia will tell you several Roman coins have been found, and they'll probably come up with some crazy explanation for it, but like it's accepted, mainstream accepted, which is surprising, actually.
I don't know. It's kind of weird because it kind of sounds like y'all agree, but I don't know how much y'all agree. Like he's saying,
you're doing the Sunman thing here. We're different people. Like, yeah, we share some beliefs, but like, we're not on the same team. This isn't a team here.
Yeah, I was just saying, I don't know how much you guys agree. I don't know how much of a Sunman that
I agree.
I agree 100% with what he's saying.
It's just American history is a lie. That's the premise.
American history a lot, and some people were here before the explorers.
Well, you say "sun people," but again, that's a modern term.
Yeah,
so we don't want to apply that to the olden days.
Okay,
but
hold on, time out. But and they call them Negro. What they call the Negro and what they call the African American is the same thing. We know what the fuck it is, even though they got different names.
Because we have classifications now. That's why we've been classified into these groups. That's why.
There are 3 races.
Who's Walter Plecker? Who's Walter Plecker? They came up with the concept. You can look him up.
Salute to Doug Chunks. He says, if you hadn't had a melange breakfast yesterday, how would you have felt? I didn't have a melange breakfast yesterday.
What's that? Sounds good.
You know that? I didn't have a melange breakfast yesterday, Doug. Talking about, man. Let's see. Let me play this video for you. This guy's a scientist. Okay, this is a scientist. And I know you're gonna say that there's gonna be some excuses to why.
Yeah.
And listen, I haven't seen this video, but I've watched other videos of his. But since we're talking about this, I want to see what he says about what you're talking about now.
Where was the first place European explorers landed in the Americas? Was it Mexico, the United States, Brazil? Well, actually, it was Greenland over 1,000 years ago. But when discussing the more recent European colonialism, the first ships to set sail from the Old World led by Christopher Columbus landed in an unknown island in the Lucayan archipelago, what we refer to today as the modern-day Bahamas. Subsequent waves of Europeans had very volatile interactions with the natives of these islands, to say the least. But with the introduction of Old World diseases into the native population, their fate was set as soon as the first interactions between these two wild.
These people are dark skinned that they're black.
No, see these terms. This is why I always say these terms that we label each other with nonsense.
The nappy-headed 4C fucking goddamn fucking proto-humans. These are 4C proto-humans.
4C proto.
Is that what you're saying? They niggas. They Marquavius.
People.
Martell. And the Shaniquas. These are Shaniquas and Marquavius.
Melanated people.
Yo, nobody denies there are melanated people here. Bro, what the
exactly. That's the point.
I can't do this shit, bro.
That's the point that I'm bringing.
No, this shit getting crazy.
You never heard me say black people. You never heard me say black people.
No, you just gonna say it's Negroes or some shit like that.
Yo, what's the word, y'all?
No, I don't, because I don't believe in those terms.
What are your thoughts on this, Cook County? What are your thoughts on this, man? Let him get the floor.
I mean, I really don't really care about this type of shit because niggas are still terrible now, and that's all that matters.
Ugly disparate populations took place,
and it's sorry. Hold on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's what matters. I mean,
That's what I feel about it too.
is just basically like, yeah, the history and all this other stuff, that's cool, but like we suck right now and we're a burden right now, and we kind of gotta, get out of being the toddler of society.
And a lot of this stuff changes. Like they have a rock solid theory and they work on it and they work on it, and then a dude a generation or two later working in a university comes up with something else and just runs with it.
Yeah, but you're always gonna have. It's like a case. Like think about a case. The first day when the detectives show up on the scene.
Yeah, but it's kind of a never-ending thing, and it's like, what is the point?
Right.
Like these guys devote their lives to the shit, and this is how they make their living. They have to write grants to get funding to explore. Like, oh, this one island, was this the first island? Here's my theory as to why this was the very first island that any colonizer landed on. And then a dude working in fucking California has his theory, and he comes along 20 years later, and he's like, oh no, dude, 20 years ago, that wasn't it. Here's the new theory. And it's just kind of like endless babble that doesn't really help anything.
Right, but what about hard facts, like the people that landed on the island, what they said? Like, what about those type things?
Well, I mean, but I'm saying like they argue, the historians argue over what the stuff meant and who said what to who. Like these guys don't have, much record at all. They just kind of piece together, here's here's like 3 pages of a report from one part, and then there was a ship, that crossed this area probably about the same time, maybe. And these 2 captains probably met somewhere in this general vicinity of islands. It's just very wishy-washy. And eventually these pompous intellectual types get to go to universities and lecture and act like they know what they're talking about because nobody else has wasted their time investigating shit that don't really matter.
Well, also, like, people might not know how to investigate that shit. Like if you were going to go determine who was the first Europeans to come to the New World, like, where would you start? Where would you go, man? Like, I mean, like, it's not that people don't really have time for it. They don't know how to do it.
The native population, their fate was set as soon as the first interactions between these 2 wildly disparate populations took place. And it's claimed that by the year 1600, only 100 years after first contact, virtually the entire Taino ethnicity and other natives of the Caribbean had gone extinct through a combination of enslavement, warfare, and epidemics, completely changed.
So, like, you don't think that this what do you think about this? Like that
I think this is just what they understand it to be as it currently exists in our history, our time period.
But the king, you don't think the king? You think they didn't keep track of how many ships they sent out? He didn't know how many soldiers he was sending where? The generals?
No, I don't think they had a great idea of that.
Also, to add on to that, in between when it happened then and now, you can fuck with those records. Like,
I mean, you can rehash stories however you want them to fit.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, we really don't have a great idea of what the fuck was going on.
And
even 150 years ago.
Who cares?
Changing the demographic landscape of this region forever. What exactly is the Caribbean, though? Well, other than being used to describe the large open body of water connected to the Atlantic Ocean as a geographic descriptor, the Caribbean region, or West Indies as it is colloquially known, is generally used to describe the various island chains that box in the Caribbean Sea from the Atlantic Ocean, divided into a number of archipelagos stretching from South America to North America, including the Lesser Antilles in the east, which includes Barbados, Trinidad, and others, The ABC Islands in the south, which includes Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, 3 constituent countries of the Netherlands. The Greater Antilles in the west, which includes Cuba, Hispaniola, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico. And finally, the Lucayan Archipelago in the north, which includes the Bahamas, Turks, and Caicos Islands. At European contact, there were around 1 million people living throughout the Caribbean, including over 700,000 on the island of Hispaniola, which on this one island would have been a population density about the same as Argentina today.
See, like that.
or
How the
3
fuck
times higher
did
than
they
that of
know
Canada.
that? How the fuck did they know that? They don't fucking know. They have no fucking idea.
Just
A dude will
Amelia.
come
Sure,
along.
why
A
not?
dude will come along 50 years from now and be like, the population was 3 times what we thought it was. And then a dude 10 years after that will be like, no, it was actually a fraction of what we thought it was. Like, they don't fucking know. And these dudes a lot of these guys that do this kind of work are also hyper left leaning liberals, and they will fucking make some shit fit to fit some narrative they have.
This guy's he talks about alleles and haplogroups, so he's not really talking about like left wing shit. And
But I'm saying, like, if you get into the philosophy of these people that do this type of work, a lot of them intertwine their personal politics with their research.
Yeah,
right,
it makes
but
them
white
feel
people
good about
did
themselves.
white people did conquer people. Like, you got to also understand too. Like, one thing that that gliders have on other people that kind of like makes them seem worse is that, like, the written language. Y'all kept memoirs, y'all kept historical anecdotes. All the killing and ravaging Africans did throughout the centuries, none of that was recorded. All the killing and ravaging these natives did and the Arabs, very little of that was recorded. So you guys recorded everything. So we have all of the fucking shit that you did wrong. And the other groups, we don't have anything. We don't have anything out of Africa. Only
I'm just saying a lot of this stuff is a lot of maybes.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is to think I think you are kind of offended because, like, oh, what do we do now? Oh God, we did. Oh, they're blaming us for another thing. Well, yeah, because it's recorded. There's nobody else recorded anything.
Well, I'm just saying I don't think a lot of this is accurate. That they get on here and they make these videos and they're like, this is definitively how the world was, 700 years ago, for sure. Don't question it. I don't think that's true.
I'm not saying that this guy's right, but what I'm saying is that you guys don't trust any of it, right? I don't trust what they say happened before they got here, but the fucking general's diary where he says, on this day we sent 1,800 soldiers westward up over the Cape, and our sergeant said that he lost 200 in battle, and I mean, like, that's literally like people just saying what happened. Now, you want to tell me how many people were there when you got there? If you want to say you don't believe that, I'm fine with that. But sometimes some things just happened. Like, it ain't everything. Everything's not a conspiracy.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, we don't really have a great measure to say for sure what a lot of this actually was. Like, there's a lot of God of the gap scenarios where it's like, okay, well, this happened and then this happened, so somewhere in the middle, this was probably the norm, or this is probably who was in charge, or this is probably what took these people out. There's a lot of fill in the gap stuff that people just blindly assume is fact because somebody who works at a college just says it.
Salute to Alicia Shadow. She says, what makes this channel great is being able to freely discuss different points of view and freely question narratives. Love these discussions. Shout out to you, Alicia, man. Make sure y'all continue to take the $5 challenge, support the channel. We're going into hour 4, man.
Canada.
Somebody in the chat made a good.
These early Caribbean natives were not a.
Somebody in the chat made a good, modern day comparison. Like Like, what do you think COVID's going to be presented as 100, 200 years from now?
Shit.
Oh yeah, they're gonna make it seem like people were falling over in the streets and the fucking
Yeah, like the world shut down, everyone was dying.
yeah. They're gonna. Of course, now no, I get that. They're doing that now in front of our eyes.
And
Like,
yeah, and that's modern times. Like that's like we record everything. We got everything on video. We got everything on a disk drive somewhere. Like, and that shit, people are gonna believe all kinds of bullshit that wasn't true, but they're gonna get taught it by somebody who has a PhD 100 years from now, and they're gonna be like, "That's definitely what happened back then." When no, it wasn't.
no, and I 100% agree with that. Like, in 50 years, January 6th is going to be seen like it was the fucking they had guns and tanks and they stormed the Capitol with guns and with tanks and shit. I definitely understand that, but this guy, he gets in his videos, he gets into a little bit different shit. That's why I wanted to.
Single unified ethno-linguistic group and arrived in their new island home at varying points in time. Although interestingly, nearly all of them seem to have originated from South America rather than North America, despite the distance and close proximity to the mainland of both continents. But it's actually now known that virtually all Amerindian tribes in the Caribbean started on the northern coast of South America, what is now Venezuela, and proceeded to move north along the Lesser Antilles, hopping from island to island.
And they know this because the haplogroups, your DNA, once they decoded the genome, that opened up a lot of historical stuff that wasn't known prior.
Various waves and settling down along the way. The most archaic and isolated group were people located on the farthest western tip of Cuba and the nearby island of Juventud that were dubbed by the Spanish as the Guanahatabe, and were not related to any other known Caribbean natives or those from the mainland. As a hunter-gatherer society, the Guanahatabe were most likely descended from the first, or at least the oldest surviving migration wave from the mainland, most likely at least 3,100 BC. That's older than most of the pyramids of Egypt at over 5,000 years old, although Amerindians have inhabited South America for at least 10,000 years. The next wave of migrants to enter the Caribbean were
So this is he said what that group looks like. So is that what you're saying?
Exactly. What I'm saying, like
mainland.
These terms
Most
that
likely
they use, black, white. What I'm saying is these terms that we use, and somebody mentioned it in the comments also. These terms, these terms of black, white, this and this and this and that. This is all new concepts. So when I say melanated people, I'm talking people of hue. I don't consider myself a black person. I know my culture. I know how I was raised. I know the deal. I never labeled myself as a black person. Never called anybody a black person. Never called anybody a white person.
Okay, but
these are concepts.
Stay with me though. Like, hold on. Let me.
At least 3,100 BC. That's older than most of the pyramids of Egypt at over 5,000 years old, although Amerindians have inhabited South America for at least 10,000 years. The next wave of migrants to enter the Caribbean were the Taino, perhaps the most widely distributed and most numerous people group in the region, and were distantly related to a larger ethnic macro group known as the Arawakan peoples from the mainland of South America, with the Tainos spreading out to the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Hispaniola, and most of the remainder of Cuba, divided between a few main groupings which may or may not have been mutually intelligible. The other major group of the Caribbean was the Caribs, a smaller Arawakan ethnic group located in the Lesser Antilles. And before you ask, it was actually the Caribbean that was named after the Carib people, rather than the people being named after the region. The situation gets a bit more complicated for Trinidad and Tobago, which actually have multiple indigenous peoples, including the aforementioned island Caribs, as well as the Locono and Warao, while Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao were originally inhabited by Arawakan Kakito people, though due to their isolation from the rest.
And listen, these people are dark, okay? They're dark, and they have straight hair, and they can trace their lineage through DNA back to South America. So these people a lot of these people in the Caribbean came from South American Indians, not North American Indians, and they tracing that not through record books, but through their DNA.
Exactly
To
my
the Caribbean
point.
islands, their culture was more similar to that on the mainland than in the Greater Antilles. Areas that are also often associated with the Caribbean, such as Bermuda in the Atlantic Ocean and the Cayman Islands in between Mexico and Jamaica, actually had no indigenous population by the time the first Europeans arrived. But that doesn't mean their modern populations don't have any Amerindian blood, as migrants brought from other Caribbean islands may have had partial native ancestry. So this leads us to what exactly happened to the million or so natives of the Caribbean, which, as you could guess, is quite the tragic history. As being the first area of the Americas that the Spaniards came across, it was also the first to be conquered and integrated into the Spanish Empire, with diseases such as measles, smallpox, and the flu being the greatest weapons of the Spanish, and the greater technological advancement of the Spanish put down any large-scale rebellions by the Taino. After this, many of the remaining natives were enslaved or fled to the interiors of the larger islands, although there was considerable intermixing between them, as many Spaniards who arrived on Hispaniola or Cuba often took Taino wives, with their mestizo offspring often becoming conquistadors themselves and aiding in the conquest of the rest of the New World. However, by and large, the biggest demographic change to occur to the Caribbean islands would be the importation of slaves from sub-Saharan Africa, who were quickly pumped in to replace the dwindling Taino population, and they would proceed to eventually become the majority in the French and British Caribbean territories, while in the Spanish territories it was a bit different, as most of the time the Spanish or mestizo men would intermix with these imported Africans, creating a new hybridized population. There are even some accounts of
And there
escaped
you have
African
it.
slaves moving and integrating into Taino villages, although eventually the entirety of the populations of these islands would become Hispanicized, with the Taino and African languages being replaced by Spanish, and racial identification on the island becoming rather fluid, with all inhabitants eventually becoming more or less connected in some way. Although anecdotes of surviving Taino exist well into the 1600s in the Greater Antilles, one of the only regions where the natives were able to actually survive the conquest, disease, and massacres were in the smaller islands, with England and France agreeing to make Dominica and St. Vincent into a Carib or Kalinago refuge, although eventually England would annex these islands as well. And with the importation of Africans to these islands, it would appear that the last of the native Caribbeans were about to be washed away forever. However, a group of escaped African slaves from St. Vincent would actually end up intermixing with some of the native Caribs, creating a hybrid Afro-Amerindian or Zambo people that were highly opposed to the British rule, and ended up being deported to Central America, where their descendants are known as the Garifuna or Guaranagua today, still speaking their own distinct Arawakan dialect rather than English or Spanish, being located mostly in Honduras and Belize. In Dominica,
Look like
however,
Sun
the
people, right?
Kalinago actually did survive.
Those are Sun people. They're mixed between these Africans.
Right, that's my right. That's the point I'm making.
Bro,
That's
he
the
does
point I'm
not
trying to make.
agree with you, dog.
That,
It's crazy how you think he's like, bro. This, I don't know, bro.
no, what I was saying, I'm saying exactly what he was saying. You
No, you were.
misunderstood me. This is exactly what I'm saying. They ran into people that were here already.
That's not what he said at all, bro. What? Bro,
He said
I
Africans were
did say
imported.
that.
The Africans were imported.
they said imported, bro.
Yeah. And the DNA
Right, I never
says
denied that. I never said they weren't here. They didn't bring Africans. I never said that.
Yeah, but here's the thing about DNA. Let me tell you about DNA. DNA, they can your haplogroup and your alleles is deep, but they can tell where you came from by looking like by other groups in the world. Because if like for instance, if I have a baby with a white woman, right, and that baby comes out mixed, that baby has all the information from my history and all the information from my wife's history. So somebody finds those bones that day, they'll say, "Oh, that baby it came from Wales and Nigeria." Like, what the fuck? But like in these homogeneous groups, like the Indians were when they were here by themselves, and the Africans were when they were there by themselves, it's a lot easier to crack the code.
agreeing to make Dominica and St. Vincent into a Carib or Kalinago refuge, although eventually England would annex these islands as well. And with the importation of Africans to these islands, it would appear that the last of the native Caribbeans were about to be washed away forever. However, a group of escaped African slaves from St. Vincent would actually end up intermixing with some of the native Caribs, creating
a group of escaped African slaves from St. Vincent. They came and made their own fucking group, just a group of African slaves. So when you're talking about like we was already here, I could get why Africans say that, because they're like, damn, there's so many fucking Africans everywhere. This one group of African slaves made their own fucking race just by fucking on some Indians.
But do you know how many? Like what's the name was saying earlier, we don't know. Just like we don't know how many people were here, but there were people here.
Yeah, but what we say, the group is still around today.
Be washed away forever. However, a group of escaped African slaves from St. Vincent would actually end up intermixing with some of the native Caribs, creating a hybrid.
Bro, because you keep saying stuff like there were people here and they were melanated. No, I don't think anybody is disagreeing with that. You're making a stronger claim than that. Go ahead.
What claim am I making?
You're saying,
explain to me. No, what's the claim that I'm making?
All right, this is what I keep hearing from you. The claim that you're making is that there were people that look like sub-Saharan Africans that were here already.
No, I never said that. Never said that. Never said that.
So we don't disagree then.
That's where the communication breakdown is.
There were people here. They had melanin. Cool.
My lineage, my culture is not sub-Saharan sun man.
And you know that, huh?
People call me a sun man. But people call me a sun man. People call me a sun man. Look at my picture there. I have on a national headdress and a national jacket from my culture.
Yeah, according to this source, the natives went extinct, right, or damn near extinct. So we'll never really know if that's the case, if they're gone and they're extinct.
But hold on. He didn't say the natives went extinct. Like it said the certain tribe, the Tainos went extinct. This is about the Taino tribe. All of them didn't go extinct. They're here today. What are you talking about?
Some of them are called Dominicans. Some of them are called Puerto Ricans. Some of them.
The video.
You talking about certain tribes, like this Taino tribe got absorbed.
We're talking about a small
blacks
island.
Came over here. Blacks fucked them out into black. Like you can fuck a group into extinction, right? Like if you got a little group on an island and you come there and you fuck all their women and their women fuck all your men, and over the course of 100 years, everybody is mixed and that group is gone.
Well, what I was taught, 90% of them died of disease. So
it was easier to absorb them because it was less of them.
That's true.
Or Zambo people that were highly opposed to the British rule and ended up being deported to Central America, where their descendants are known as the Garifuna or Guaranagua today, still speaking their own distinct Arawakan dialect rather than English or Spanish, being located mostly in Honduras and Belize. In Dominica, however, the Kalinago actually did survive in the northeast corner of the island, making them the last remnants of the pre-contact indigenous Caribs, although in recent years there's been substantial intermixing with their neighbors in Dominica, leaving only a few hundred full-blooded members remaining, as most.
So in this tribe, there's only a few hundred full-blooded members of them. Like, did that happen, or is that a conspiracy? Like are you asking me? Everything's a fucking conspiracy.
Yeah, that's why I don't do the conspiracy shit. Said this already.
I never said that was a conspiracy. It's pretty silly to think everything is a conspiracy. Yes, but damn near all of them.
Everything's a conspiracy. Everything. Nothing ever happened. Everybody's lying about everything.
hidden history here, and
Black people were involved in everything. Like there ain't
I said
nothing that
nothing
ever
about
happened
black
where
people.
niggas wasn't involved in it and shit.
I am not claiming anything
in the
about some
Kalinago
people
community have
originating from
African or
America.
European ancestry as well, but they're still quite the vibrant community, making up around 3% of the island and growing, actually. Due to the history of intermixing with many of the Caribbean natives, their genetics, and possibly even to a greater extent, their culture and traditions still live on in almost every modern nation in the region, as most Afro-Caribbeans have a degree of European and smaller Amerindian admixture. And in the case of the Hispanic Caribbean, it's been found through genetic studies that the whiter any individual is in these nations, the more likely it is that Amerindian DNA makes up a greater part of their non-European ancestry. In total, Native American ancestry still continues to make up around 7% of the overall genome of the entire Caribbean, greatly depending, of course, on self-identified ethnicity as well as region, as it's been found that mixed-race Puerto Ricans have around 20 to 25% Taino ancestry, while groups like the Haitians have almost none, existing only in trace amounts, suggesting a...
Okay, and we know that these, through DNA, they prove what we already knew, that Haitians is niggas. They not Indians. But we knew that, but DNA, all they did was confirm that. So it's like the DNA history proved it, what the historical history proved. They both, what happens when they both agree? I wanted to ask y'all that. When the DNA history, when they go back and check the DNA of everybody, see where they came from, and it matches the white man history books. What do y'all got? What do y'all say when that happens?
I say thank God.
I honestly feel like I'm being. If you're asking me, I feel like I'm just being pigeonholed here because I don't.
No, I'm asking you because
I'm half
y'all
one
said,
foot in, one
no.
foot out on this.
I'm asking you that is because y'all came in here with the premise that nothing ever happened, everything's a lie, and through DNA they found that everybody in the fucking hold on. Let me
Come on, man.
They
Nothing
found
ever
that
happened.
everybody they found out everybody in the Caribbean. Hold on. Can I just say what I'm saying? They found that everybody in the Caribbean got Indian blood in them, right? They what you call Indian. Can we just agree that the Indians are the people that were already here?
No, they're not. They're gonna say no.
Yeah. Everybody in the Caribbean got some
West Indians.
Hold on. Everybody in the Caribbean got some of that in them, right? Except for these motherfuckers.
And they're gonna say
didn't have it in them.
That's why they on one side of that island.
They're gonna say the DNA test is fake, or it doesn't. It's not showing the whole genome.
See, these motherfuckers got Indian blood. These are half Indians, right? These are or quarter Indians or third or 10th Indians. But these motherfuckers right here are similar. Are these motherfuckers? These is this group right here. They stayed 100% African, even though they was in the Caribbean all that time. They managed to stay 100% African. And when you see them, when you see one of these motherfuckers, you can tell.
Mark.
You can see the African in them.
No, Mark. You can see that they don't have nothing else in them.
Yeah, I never denied that. You can see it in them. They still practice the culture to this day.
Is that you when you say history, like you say, like you could have came, you like for instance, say that didn't happen, right? The white
I don't think. I'm sorry. I don't think you just. I could have clarified myself a little better.
DNA proved it. How did these people stay 100% African in the Caribbean where every other group is mixed?
They were originally from Africa.
No, but all the other
and that's why they're on that one side of the island.
No, but all the other people is from Africa too. Parts of their
the ones that mixed with the natives.
Right, so they didn't mix with the natives. So that happened. That really happened.
Oh yeah, they mixed. They mixed with the natives. They mixed with the Spaniards.
I'm trying to get you to agree that something actually happened.
Yeah, that shows you that mixing occurred. I said that shows you that mixing
Without a
occurred.
doubt.
You can't deny it.
Yeah. So mixing occurred, and in some places it didn't occur. So things happened. Some things that we know happened actually happened.
Of course.
Okay, I just want to get that because I think y'all don't realize how y'all sound because I think you got kind of a blind spot. Yo, y'all don't think nothing happened.
I mean, we never
said that.
So chill out. But let me use the Holocaust as an example. What do you believe about the Holocaust?
I don't want to talk about the Holocaust right now, man.
Fair
I
enough,
want
fair
to go
enough.
from this to the fucking Holocaust, dude.
I don't want to do that to your channel.
Yeah.
Suggesting a total population replacement. This may not sound
So they had
studies that
he said it was a total population replacement. But this was an island where they brought slaves, all niggas, and them niggas revolted and they kicked the fucking French out, and it's been a fucking dumpster fire ever since. It's been Africa. Them niggas recreated Africa because they ain't had no admixture. It's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere because this is the one place where the total population was replaced.
Yep.
It wasn't no mixing. This is Africa.
Yep. This is literally just Africa transported.
Exactly. Haiti is literally can we agree with that one? Can I get a one in the chat? Haiti is Africa, is a satellite Africa.
The magic dirt didn't rub off on them. They just imported them niggas and they created Africa exactly where they landed at. That's all that happened.
It's just Africa. But the other countries is mixed up. So they're not as poor, but they're not like white people.
Hey, Mr. Terrible,
ancestry.
chat, you're on point.
While groups like the Haitians have almost none, existing only in trace amounts, suggesting a total population replacement. This may not sound like a whole lot, but out of the total population of the Caribbean being 45 million people today, this is equivalent to around 3.2 million full-blooded Caribbean Native Americans, with the highest geographic concentration being in Puerto Rico and the
So of 3%, 3 million of the 45 million people in the Caribbean are what you found when you first got there, what the white people found when they first got there. The rest is mixed up or fucking Haitians.
Mixed up from the imported Africans.
Yeah,
not the niggas that were already there. They got imported and then they mixed.
If the Africans was already there, the DNA would have been in the haplogroups. And I don't want to get in all the haplogroups and alleles and shit like that. You gotta do your own research on that. I'm gonna pull a Mystic Philly. Do your own research. Haplogroups, alleles, populations and shit like that. It's DNA markers and shit like that. Like they can tell if it was some niggas over here already, it would have nobody would be hiding it. It ain't no conspiracy.
No, they would have been hiding it. They don't want us to know for some reason. They can't really. I don't even know why they wouldn't tell us niggas was here. I still don't understand that part.
Here's my thing though, like the places where niggas are though, niggas don't want to learn nothing about it. Niggas when they talk about Africa, they want to learn about Egypt. You tell a nigga about how you went to Egypt, they don't care about the place where the niggas is.
They start talking about they were Hebrews and shit. They were the original Jews.
Exactly.
Well, some in the chat just said they're the original Europeans.
Yeah, I was just about to say they start making up these fake. They were the original King George and all this shit. It's like
Britain.
Netflix got their back.
Well, it's just an extension of ego, and if it helps them get what they want, like that is what it is. It's people. The problem is people don't want to tell some people, shut the fuck up, because some people are so violent. And really, being violent is the only way you actually get what you want in any way.
Yeah, and also some people have like elevated status too. Like you can't pissing off a some person. It has consequences socially, not just violently, but your social status can be affected by pissing off a some person or pissing off some people.
45 million people today, this is equivalent to around 3.2 million full-blooded Caribbean Native Americans, with the highest geographic concentration being in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, although the modern Caribbean island with the highest percentage of Amerindian admixture as a proportion of the national gene pool would be Aruba. Not terribly surprising, seeing how it is one of the closest islands to the mainland. Even in most Anglo-West Indian countries, Afro-Caribbeans still have varying amounts of Amerindian.
Look at the admixture. Haiti's at the fucking bottom. They don't have no admixture. Damn.
It's hard to read.
Amazing. Well, this is Haiti right here. This is Cuba. This is Puerto Rico.
This super chat blocking part of the graph.
Oh, okay. Salute to Hot Black, man. Hot Black in the building, man. Y'all free to take the $5 challenge, man. I'm not gonna be mad at you if you take the $5 challenge, support the channel. So what did the ancient Romans call basketball? Oh my god.
Yeah, this was
I mean, a lot of sons would say Romans were sons. So
yeah,
there was no
Britain,
distinction.
That's Britain bullshit. Britain is doing that. They're bending over backwards for some people because they're trying to say that because the Romans conquered Britain before the Anglos got there, when the Druids were there, and the Celtics were there. That's back when Rome conquered that, and they trying to say that because they had a mixed army and they would have had some Carthaginians and this, that, third in their army, that they most likely had some black yo, that shit is that story of how they claiming that black people were in Britain back in the day is an insane web of meandering lies, man.
In DNA on average, possibly as high as 3 or 4% in Jamaica and the Virgin Islands, 5% in the Bahamas, and between 6 to 8% in St. Kitts, St. Vincent, Grenada, and St. Lucia, and possibly even higher than this in the Afro-Trinidadian population. Compare this to Black Americans in the United States, who on average have only 1% Native American blood, or the average white American.
But the average nigga will tell you, if you talk to most niggas even before the internet, so before the internet, the majority of niggas said they had Indian blood. That was the thing, man. Back in the day, back in the 80s, man, 5 out of 10 niggas said they had Indian blood. And it was just a thing. And don't let them have like a looser grain of hair. Oh
yeah. Oh my god.
And that
So you don't think there was no mixture going on there?
Dude, it's right here, man.
The DNA. You don't have to ask the DNA.
It's right there, bro.
Listen, I'm asking.
And then also, let me tell you this too. We do know that natives owned slaves, and we do know that they owned slaves into the 1920s because they didn't follow. They were independent nations, and they didn't follow the Emancipation Proclamation. But here's the thing: when they release, when one thing that the Native Americans in North America who owned slaves, they detested black people more than whites did, and they were far more brutal to their slaves than whites were. And they didn't do intermixing like that. Like their intermixing, they thought blacks were a subspecies more so than whites did at the time. So they didn't like to intermix with their black slaves. So you have less. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
You see that today. Like that's prevalent in the modern day. You go to like China. Yeah, they really look down on them.
Yeah, definitely. But what I'm saying is that yes, they did have slaves. They were in close proximity with black people. What I'm saying is that the Native Americans, it ain't like they they had niggas as slaves, but they didn't reproduce with them. And as we saw earlier in the video, today's video, whites did fuck their black slaves. Natives didn't. So that's why you see that, because they did have slaves. So you would think that it would be like the European. 24% of the blood would be European. But it's not, because they detested blacks and they despised them and they felt that they were inferior. So they didn't even think they were procreating them with them was not a thing that they did. Damn, Latinos got a lot of native blood. Europeans have less. Damn, look how little native. And whenever I see a fucking Indian or Native American, it looks like a glider. It's a lot of $5 Indians here, man. It's a lot of gliders cosplaying as Indians.
I agree.
Yeah, I've got one at work, and she fucking pisses me off to no end.
Well, she claims native.
Yeah, she claims Native American, and she wears like Native heritage T-shirts and shit, and she's fucking whiter than I am.
Yeah, I got family members who do that.
Yeah. So yeah, this is but most Latinos are 65% white. So that's crazy. So like they have a lot of that would make sense though, because they be smoking our boots, man. Whenever we come into contact with Latinos or we're in the same place with Latinos, they always outdo us, man.
Who on average have only 1% Native American blood, or the average white American who has even less than that. And it would appear that the United States, and I suppose Haiti as well, are some of the sole anomalies of the Americas, that being some of the only places in the hemisphere where Native American ancestry is not as widespread, as even in most parts of the Caribbean, their Native American genetics and heritage still lives on in the present day. In Puerto Rico, there has been a bit of a Taino cultural revival, with many embracing their indigenous roots. And in the 2010 U.S. Census, around 10,000 Puerto Ricans identified as Native American, being an interesting example of an ethnic group being revived literally from extinction, although many members of this Neo-Taino community have argued that there is simply a continuation of the former Taino people and culture, although it's unknown if these self-identified Taino have any more Native American DNA on average, or whether they just have the right amount of European and African DNA to look vaguely native. But either way, their embracing of their Amerindian heritage is part of a wider movement in Latin America to identify with the whole of their ancestry, uniting the region in their uniquely shared history, with the Taino, Caribs, and other Arawakan people native to the Caribbean being one of the most important chapters in that history. So please let me know your thoughts on the natives of the Caribbean.
Shout out to Massa Man.
It's just funny to me that people do this with this whole like we was natives thing and trying to identify with these people while at the same time living in the convenience of modern glider-esque societies. And it's like, which one do you want? Do you want the murderous, hatchet through your fucking face?
Cannibals.
Cut your heart out, eat your neighbor shit that these people used to do? Or do you want the high-rise buildings and the air conditioning and all that shit? Because you got to pick one or shut the fuck up.
Let's see this. Update.
I just ask that you guys keep us in prayer.
A desperate plea from the family members of Javion McGee. He's the 21-year-old Illinois man who was found dead last week in Henderson, leaning against a tree with a rope around his neck. WFMY News 2's Giselle Thomas joins us after hearing from his family today and breaks down a detailed timeline of events released by the sheriff's office.
Now, family and friends of 21-year-old Javion McGee stood right here demanding justice and wanting answers towards what happened with the cause of his
demanding justice. What the fuck are they talking about?
His death. Now, McGee was found dead under a tree with a rope tied around his neck on September 11th. Today, the North Carolina Chief Medical Examiner's Office says McGee did not have defensive wounds and there was no sign of any assault. Now here's the timeline released by the Vance County Sheriff's Office from September 10th, the day before McGee's body was found. Investigators say McGee dropped off the load at Walmart around 12:30 p.m. Vance County sheriffs say a few hours later, McGee circled back to the Walmart. Video shows him walking inside around 6 p.m., buying a blue rope and leaving a few minutes later. When he left, the sheriff's office says McGee gave a homeless person $228 before getting back in his truck and leaving. Once he left,
Definitely gonna kill himself.
Yeah, exactly. But like, even with this, press one if you think this will be enough for the niggas to stop protesting and having fucking goddamn press conferences, or press two if you think they're gonna still keep having press conferences and protests.
It's about power. It's not about pictures.
before getting back in his truck and leaving. Once he left, he checked into a hotel at 6:30 p.m. 10 minutes later, he left the hotel. And just before 7 p.m., investigators say he pulled into a parking lot near where his body was found. They say surveillance video shows McGee walking into the woods with an object in his hands.
So he met the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan said, "Come meet me in the woods and bring a rope." That's what these niggas gonna say. I'm telling you, that's what they gonna say. That, I promise you, that's what they say. Because like similar to what Fisher said, like, they can't let this go because they've gotten so much attention for this, and they've gotten and they were almost close. Because here's the thing: when a black person kills your loved one, no one cares. No one gives a shit. This one, they created this fairy tale that a white person had done it, right? And everyone cares. The whole world cares. On Twitter, this is blowing up on Twitter. This is blowing up on TikTok. Everyone cares. Families getting wishes, and people are like, celebrities are reaching out to the family, and and they just be like, "Oh, here's the Walmart tape of him buying it, and here's him walking into the woods where he was found with the rope in his hand." The end. It's over. That's a hard pill to swallow. Like, it's over. Like, damn, everybody's gone. Like, everybody who's been sending well wishes and making tweets and sending prayers and keeping all the pastors, they all about to dip. So yeah, I think they're gonna keep it. I think they're gonna try to keep, being fucking.
Well,
this
they can say that he was tricked or bamboozled by the KKK. They like catfished him or some shit.
Definitely. They're gonna say something. Salute to product of Cook County, man. He says Africa. R-E-R. I saw that Africa. I think that was Africa. I think that was like a group. Maybe that's what they called them. Salute to Caleb West. He says, when are we going to discuss the cuckoldness of the greater glider populations? I think we discuss that all the time, man. We'll get into it, man. Trust me. We gonna discuss whites cucking. We always do that.
Investigators also say he returned to his truck a few minutes later with nothing in his hands. But 30 minutes later, he's seen walking toward a tree line alone. McGee's body was found the next morning. Now, his father says his son was following in his footsteps as a truck driver, and says his son's sudden death is unbearable.
He was one of the first people that said, "Hey, Dad, I'm about to go drive," and I'm like, "Wow, well, what make you want to do that?" He said, "I just want to do it. I want to put in my work," and that's just how he was.
Now, the cause of death has not yet been determined, and investigators say that a rope was wrapped around McGee's neck 11 times. Now, the autopsy report is not yet ready, and the toxicology report is not ready.
It's shit like an open and shut case to me.
Pretty much.
Man, that's what happens when you get so wrapped up in these weird ass narratives that black people are getting hunted. and you stuck in like the 1920s. And you hear all these stories about niggas getting hanged, fucking crazy.
Yeah, they're really pissing all over those stories with this one too. Assuming they're all true, of course.
Man, I know they want this to be a white guy so bad that did this. This going if they could connect the white person to this in any way, it's gonna be one of the biggest. It's gonna be the biggest one since George Floyd by far.
You muted.
Oh,
I'm glad he did self checkout because if the cashier would have been white, they would have tried to fucking rule
Yep.
that cashier's life.
Yep.
They did self checkout, so they can't blame no fucking way. I wonder if somebody showed him where the rope is. Like, excuse me, where's the rope? Oh, right in aisle 12. Now, whoever did that, if they white, they in trouble, man. Shit, man. This shit is crazy, man.
There's been continued pressure on the Vance County Sheriff's Department to release more details about the investigation into McGee's death after his body was discovered leaning up against a tree with a rope around his neck. Many calling this a hate crime, but the facts of the death are still unclear. Today, that pressure led to the Sheriff's Department releasing a detailed timeline of events leading up to McGee's death, including new details about him buying the rope that was found around his neck, giving hundreds of dollars to a homeless person in a Walmart parking lot. And
a nigga ain't gonna do that unless he about to kill himself. A nigga ain't giving a homeless person no hundreds of dollars. Shit.
Yeah, this is extremely not son. Like this dude was some outlier in a data set type of son.
Yeah.
He gave the homeless man hundreds of dollars for his soul. So his soul, he wanted to do one good deed before he died.
Walmart parking lot.
He knew he was gonna kill himself.
Driving himself back to the area in Henderson where his body was found.
The sheriff also says the preliminary autopsy showed no sign of defensive wounds or physical abuse, indicating he was attacked. But
so the KKK was just like, what do you mean? So what? Like that?
He just said "but" after finishing that sentence.
You ain't gonna fight the KKK. He was so scared when the KKK came up to him. Was like, did you bring the rope, boy? He was like, yeah. They're like, all right, boy, get over here so I can wrap this around your neck 11 times.
He was like, yes, boss.
Yeah, nigga from Chicago.
Son, man.
And McGee's
No
family are
defense.
still pressing for more answers as that investigation continues.
As new developments continue to unfold about this case, we wanted to provide you with a bit of context surrounding the case.
Sydney Schofield joins us live now after talking to an expert hoping to make sense of where things go from here. Sydney.
Well, Stephen, Lauren, all the information we're getting is from people who are so close to this case. So we wanted to talk to someone who wasn't involved at all. I reached out to an old trusted source of mine, Lisa Miller, the former chief investigator for the Colorado Attorney General's office, for her take on the facts.
So you can't rule it out. I mean, learned a long time ago.
Are you no. If this bitch says you can't rule out foul play, I swear to God, dog, I have no faith in this society after this, man. This bitch
I mean, yeah,
better
he
not
definitely
say what
shouldn't.
she better not say what I think she's about to say.
Just look at her face.
Yeah, she a white woman from Colorado, dog. Like there wasn't a chance she wasn't gonna be woke.
I mean, learned a long time ago. Never. You can't rule it out. I mean, learned a long time ago.
Yes,
never say never in this business.
Lisa Miller has 30 years of experience investigating violent crime, so I asked her today to look over all the evidence publicly available about the death of 21-year-old Javion McGee.
It's a tale of the hate that we have in this world and the divisiveness. I mean, that we can't rule out a hate crime, that a young man was found, and that has to be acknowledged.
Though she can't rule out that his
They want it to be
What kind of
that so
ass
bad.
backwards answer was that?
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
They
That was
wish
weird.
he was murdered.
Yeah, it's like she made the argument that somehow it's indicative of a hateful society that this was not a hate crime.
You can't rule out that it could possibly be a hate crime, even though there's so far absolutely zero evidence that will indicate that that might be a part of this situation.
But also everybody is hateful. Like it doesn't make any sense. This is the delusion of, women, liberals. Like these people are completely out of touch with reality.
And he didn't leave a manifesto because he's a Sun man. So it's like that leaves them room to, like, you know what I'm saying? But even if he had left a manifesto, they would have said somebody forged it. So yeah, let me go here.
Publicly available about the death of 21-year-old Javion McGee.
It's a tale of the hate that we have in this world and the divisiveness. I mean, that we can't rule out a hate crime, that a young man was found, and that has to be acknowledged.
Though she can't rule out that his death was a hate crime based on the current evidence, I did ask Lisa if there's anything she saw that points to outside involvement in his death or that he might have been the victim of a crime.
As of right now, I don't see that. I do see a reason to continue investigating. I mean, we have to be really...
Wow, she's got 30 years experience, and she would waste resources and tax dollars.
That bitch face looked like a hate crime.
I'm telling you. She will waste resources and
You
dollars.
look terrible.
Keep investigating this. This is what they say. She was the Colorado Attorney General's office.
She's a chief investigator.
So she would look at this case and say, yeah, pour more tax dollars into it.
And then she'll get a bigger check. That's more write-offs for her.
What do you mean, more check? Her salary, she on salary. What bigger check she gonna get? She on salary.
Yeah, it's not about check. It's about conforming to what is socially acceptable.
Agenda.
There would never be a scenario where she would go against what is socially acceptable, which is that some people deserve everything being run into the ground if it makes them feel good.
Careful, because the most deviant of people that want to do bad things are capable of staging scenes to look like suicides.
She said there are some
Sounds
key
like a
pieces of evidence
conspiracy
that lead
to
her to
me.
believe law enforcement is on the right track, that they found a person who is homeless who says Javion gave them all his money shortly before he died, and there's also video of him going into the woods alone where his body would later be found. His autopsy also did not reveal any evidence of him fighting anyone off or clear signs that he'd been harmed by anyone else. Still, she says it's not enough to draw a complete conclusion yet, and she knows how painful that can be for Javion's family.
The family may never get a why, but why's help. And so the police department, the sheriff's department, they owe these loved ones every effort they can make to bring a why to the people that care about this young man.
Meanwhile, niggas is killing each other 90 going north in North Carolina. They killing each other like it's going out of style.
Yeah, how common is suicide in the Sunman community?
Sunman suicides have gone up considerably since 2020. Considerably.
And it's usually like a crash out scenario, or very often it is. It's not like, oh, I hate myself, I'm gonna go in the bathroom and cut my wrists. It's like everybody's done pissed me off, I'm gonna kill everybody.
Murder suicide.
Like that nigga that killed his sisters and his pop.
Oh yeah. You talking? Which one you talking about?
Oh no, he ain't kill himself. My bad, I'm tripping. Yeah, he ain't kill himself. Remember, it was like one from like last week. He killed like 6 people, and then he went to his girl crib to go smother her out.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Oh yeah.
I forgot. That was North Carolina too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that was North Carolina. Yeah. And that story no one gave a fuck about that story. Only place I saw that story was here and a couple other places. Dang, this little
Did y'all
son,
see
man.
that 17-year-old terrorist in Philly?
What, today?
Yeah, they did a press conference today.
What makes him a terrorist?
Yeah, but
Oh, wait till you see if you see it. I don't have the link. You could probably type in like any of the news stations because they went on. They did a press conference. 17-year-old dude from Syria.
I was about to say it can be a son, man.
Yeah, I want to do
Right.
this mass shooting in St. Louis. It was a mass shooting in St. Louis today, man. Of course, it was. It appears to be a son, man. It appears to be from the way they covering it. Appears to be a son, man. Damn, they got fucking. So much shit be happening in these cities. These stories get buried quick. That shit happened today, man. Where is it? Man. Oh man, I thought I saved it. Um,
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone.
New details now on a story we first brought you at 5 o'clock. At least 2 people are dead and 2 others are injured after a quadruple shooting in North St. Louis. It happened near Del Mar and Kings Highway. And Fox 2's Max Deeknight joins us live at the police department.
a quadruple shooting, not a mass shooting, a quadruple shooting.
Right. Is this
Downtown. Max.
this doesn't for some reason none of these are mass shootings. It's only when white people do this shit.
A hectic scene just hours ago.
Mandy, it definitely was. More than 40 crime scene markers on that scene at North St. Louis earlier tonight. We know now that at least 2 shooters were involved. Here's more details that we're learning tonight. At least 2 people are dead and 1 other person is in critical condition following a quadruple shooting in North St. Louis. St. Louis police say it happened just before 5 o'clock Wednesday on Kensington Avenue. That's 4 blocks north of Del Mar and Kings Highway. A man and a 21-year-old woman are dead. A 31-year-old man was also in critical condition as of Wednesday night, and a 21-year-old man was also shot in the arm. Police say there were at least 2 shooters involved, and they recovered cash and a gun on scene. The shots rang out in an empty lot that's known as a crime hotspot.
This is
I sound like the dude trying to hurry up and get through the story, like so they can get on to something else.
Man and a 21-year-old woman are dead. A 31-year-old man was also in critical condition as of Wednesday night, and a 21-year-old man was also shot in the arm. Police say there were at least 2 shooters involved, and they recovered cash and a gun on scene. The shots rang out in an empty lot that's known as a crime hotspot.
This is a vacant lot that officers, District 5 officers, Captain Mark's officers, know to be a frequent area for people to hang out, do drugs, and other activities and break the law.
This all happened in the Academy neighborhood. Crime data from SLNPD shows at least 8 people had already been shot in that area so far this year prior to Wednesday's shooting. Police are crediting an off-duty firefighter for stopping and rendering aid to a victim before the ambulance could arrive.
That firefighter is an absolute hero when it comes to rendering aid and trying to save individual lives out here tonight. So we applaud that off-duty firefighter for what he did.
The department's homicide investigation unit is investigating this case tonight. We'll continue to keep close tabs on it. By the way, if you know anything about this shooting, you are encouraged to call Crime Stoppers right away. Reporting live downtown tonight, Max Deeknight, Fox 2 News.
Tonight, 2 people are dead. 2 others are being treated after a quadruple shooting in North St. Louis. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. The gunfire broke out this afternoon on Kensington Avenue near Kings Highway. That's not far from Fountain Park in North St. Louis. 5 on your side's Robert Townsend spoke to the grandmother of one of the persons who was shot. Robert.
Mike and Kelly, police are still trying to piece together the quadruple shooting. Meantime, one woman is praying earnestly for a grandson who suffered gunshot wounds. Rosie Jamerson was enjoying a peaceful day inside her home in this North St. Louis neighborhood, but around 5 Wednesday afternoon,
I heard some shots, pow, 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 and it sounded like they were close.
Too close. The worried grandma learned her grandson was one of 4 people shot in the 5200 block of Kensington Avenue in the Academy neighborhood.
Oh, Lord.
Within 2 minutes of the call being dispatched, officers were on the scene.
They combed this vacant lot where police say 3 men and a woman were shot.
We know that a man has died and a female has also died here at the scene. We know that of the 2 other shooting victims out here this evening, one is a 31-year-old. He is fighting for his life. He is in critical condition, unstable. And we know that another 21-year-old man has also been shot. He was shot in the arm.
Police recovered a gun and dozens of shell casings in the street.
It appears, as of right now, that there was an exchange of gunfire between at least 2 people. We have also recovered cash here at the scene. So all of those things we need to look at.
Investigators also say the quadruple shooting happened in an area that's known for drug activity and other crimes.
This has been an area of concern, and I know the city has
female cop. Salute
Let's
to
look at her.
Yeah, salute to Jake Best, man. Jake Best in the building. He said, "Power to Arc Nation." Salute to you, man. Salute to all you guys, man, coming through tonight, man. Great show, man. Great show, man. I have to chop this up, man. Any final thoughts from anybody?
Oh man, yo, this shit was lit. I love arguing the fucking some of the we was theories. When, as I always say, time and time again, niggas have more origin stories than Marvel Cinematic Universe, and
Wolverine
today,
and shit.
yeah, and today's just another example of that. That's about it for me, man. Salute to everybody on the panel. Salute to everyone in the chat. Thanks for allowing me to speak on your platform. Good night, fellas.
Same black time, same black channel. Out of here. Peace.
Salute y'all. God bless.